Hi, everyone.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is very exciting. Um, don't hold on a minute. I don't know if Romy is here, but I'm gonna just organize our recording and then I'll be speaking to you. Okay. How exciting. Is Romy here? Hello, Romy. How are you? I see
Yes,
that
I am.
now I
Hi,
see
how are
you.
you?
That's okay. For some reason, my YouTube is also not working, but it's always exciting for that. Um, and let's see if this works. We're really excited that everybody is with us for this new course for Balanit. And really, Baruch Hashem, we have a great lineup of people. And we are looking forward to all of you learning with us. There might be one or two more people getting on. So welcome. I'm Dr. Naomi Marmon-Grummet. I'm the director of the Eden Center. Really excited to have you all. And we are going to have a chance for all of you to introduce yourselves to each other and to us. We're going to start now with that part. And we're really sort of doing today a little bit backwards because I have personal circumstances that I need to leave earlier than I would have otherwise. So I hope you'll all forgive me and be patient. But so I'm going to tell you a little bit about where this program came from and welcome you. And then after that, I'm going to let Romy, why don't you introduce yourself now, just as to who you are, and then I'll tell you about the program.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Romy Schulman. I am a counseling psychologist, and my connection, I guess, to the work of the Eden Center and to this program is that I have a lot of experience working with couples experiencing infertility, with both counseling and practical support through working with the charity in London. I now live in Ranana and work privately as a psychotherapist in Ranana. I'm currently in London, so I'm facilitating this course from here. But obviously, with infertility can be a particularly difficult experience with visiting the mikveh, and the way that the mikveh cycle is obviously related to pregnancy or obviously the difficulties of not falling pregnant. So I sort of that's what I bring from that side, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of you and to hearing more about your backgrounds, where you come from, and your expectations for this course and learning together. It sounds like there's a lot to learn on this program. We're looking forward to that.
Baruch Hashem. So the Eden Center works to improve everybody's experience of mikvah and integrate women's well-being and health into our concept of what mikvah is. And this program we really see as sort of the forefront of making mikvah better for everybody. And that's why I'm so excited that you're all doing the program with us. This program came from research, and I'll just tell you a little bit. So I started thinking about mikvah when I was quite young, when I was 20, and I had the opportunity at Brandeis to write a paper about anything I wanted. I said, I want to do something that has relevance to me as a Jewish woman and something that's connected to mitzvot. And I started saying, well, Shabbat, Challah, Hadlakat Nero, well, everybody knows about those, but I don't even know if my mother went to the mikvah. I don't know. Did she? Nobody talks about this. Do people do this today? So you could see that I have like some gray hair. So it was a couple of years ago. But the truth is that there's a lot more talk about it today. And we still don't always know if, who's going or what people are doing or how it is. But we do know a lot more about the experience of mikvah today. And when I talk to people and I would say to them, so tell me about what it means for you. Obviously, I found out that lots of people go to the mikvah, but I really interviewed them and I asked them about their personal journeys with mikvah and taharat hamishpacha. And people told me things that really opened my eyes. Some people shared with me that they loved going to the mikvah, and mikvah was beautiful and so inspiring in their relationship. And then there were women, it really connects to what Romy said, that told me that, I remember one woman in particular said, I go to the mikvah because I have to, but they told me I would have a beautiful family if I go to the mikvah. And I've had 2 miscarriages. And I don't even know if I'm going to have a family. It's really, really painful when I go. And I kept going. And, I heard about couples who the husband surprises her and they go out on a date and they enjoy. And then I heard from women who told me that mikvah is the only thing that saves me because my husband is abusive. And at least I can control when I go. And I was like holding all these things. And I was like, whoa, what do we do with all of that? How do we address that? Right? How do we think about those things in our community that on the one hand, mikvah can be a spiritual place and it can be a welcoming place and it can be a place where we really have time to think about our relationships and our bodies and ourselves. And at the same time, mikvah can be a place that makes people recognize certain challenges, things that aren't going well in their relationship, or things that aren't going as they wanted to, or different people come with a whole range of different packages. And each of them comes to the mikvah and meets the mikvah attendant. And the mikvah attendant has the ability to change completely what the experience is, from a place that is really welcoming and allows you to have your time and makes you feel like you can decide and you're there and you're the one doing the mitzvah, or makes you feel like, get me out of here as quickly as possible. And that's what I heard so often. So this course was really put together to help you be the kind of mikvah ladies who I hope all of you will, want to be, who are really there for other women, who know the halacha very well, but who also are able to just be there in that space when somebody else comes in and they're crying, when somebody else comes in and they've had a hard day and they just need somebody to listen, and so many other things that can go on when you come to the mikvah space. And so that's why I'm particularly excited that you're here. And like I said, we're going to do this a little bit backwards to what we normally do. But usually right now, I would have all of you introduce yourselves so you could all know where you are sitting and what your background, like why you're doing this course and where you're from. But we're going to save that a little bit because the person who's going to be teaching the next few sessions, Judith Fogel, Dr. Judith Fogel, she's a Yoetzet Halacha. She's a trained sex therapist, basically. She is an amazing human being and a wonderful teacher. And she's coming on in a little while. And she also wants to be here to meet all of you as we go through this. So we're going to start, if it's okay with you, with just some more technical pieces of the course. Is that okay?
Yep.
Great. Perfect. So let's just share, and then we'll also like have a little time to play a game, et cetera, et cetera. So we really like each other. But I want you to know that this course is really a combination. It's a combination of an educational program where we're going to teach you a lot, but it's also a process of us sharing and coming together to think about what are the things and the ways that we can best help women and that we could be there for each other as women in the space of the mikvah. Because when it comes down to it, we're all human beings. Whatever you come with, whatever you bring with you, we're all human beings. And so this process is also a process about us, exploring together what can make a safe space, what can help somebody to have a positive experience, and, go through what might be a difficult time in their life, not only in the mikvah, but, if somebody's going through something, whether it's anxiety or whether it's OCD or whether it's infertility, how can you be a person who can reach out to them? So this is a dynamic process that we hope will be a journey for all of us. And we want you all to please share and learn from each other as well as, just be here. So we want to try to think about what will make it comfortable for all of us in the room together here, even if we're not sitting in the same physical room, to be in this course together. So Romy, my job is to open up the course, to teach you a few of the sessions, and to listen when you have feedback of what can make the course better. That's my job as the head of the Ed Center. Romy's job is to sort of hold the space in this room for all of you on a weekly basis. And I will look forward to hearing from her and from you what's going on. But Romy, do you want to go over a couple of the things that are sort of what you see as things that can help us to make it a safe space in terms of sharing and so on?
Sure. So I think as from what I understand of the aims of this course is that it's both going to be the halachic side of things and also the more emotional side of things. And part of what's going to help us all to get a good idea of what this means and understanding women's experience of the mikveh and the challenges or the positives that might bring is also to share some of our own experiences within the group. And in order for us to all feel comfortable enough to do that, we need to set a sort of a ground rule to say that whatever gets shared in the group will remain confidential to the group, so that everybody feels that when they share in this group that they're safe to share things that obviously only anything that you feel comfortable to share, and there's no expectation for anybody to share anything that you wouldn't like to. But if you would like to share, that there's an understanding that it will be kept confidential within this group and it won't be discussed from outside with anybody outside. And I guess that just brings a more real element to understanding and to sharing thoughts about what people experience around mikveh. Okay.
Yep, perfect. So I want to say that also, you're always allowed to ask questions. Please, though, respect each other as you bring things to the group. Whatever you're bringing, it's important. And I hope that lots of different ideas will come out. I hope we'll have different hashkafic stances on things. I hope we'll have different voices of what's important to you. And we should all just respect each other in bringing ourselves really to the class and the different halachic opinions that might come up, and also respect each other in terms of not interjecting. If somebody else is speaking, we'll wait until that person finishes. But with all that, I really do encourage you to share and bring yourself. In addition, I want to say that we're going to be talking about a lot of real topics. Some of them are more exciting and fun, and some of them are more difficult to deal with. We'll go over the syllabus in a minute, Bezrat Hashem. And because of that, I want to also say that is one of my jobs in this course, that if you ever personally feel that something triggers you or something is difficult, you don't have to sit with that yourself. We're all here for you. Romy's here for you. I'm here for you. The rest of the staff is here. And hopefully, as we create a group that will want to share with each other, so you can also be here for each other, but definitely feel that you can speak to us. And also, if something does trigger you, let me know. But also, if you need to take a break, you can. But that leads right in to the attendance requirements. So I promise you we'll get to more exciting stuff, but I just have to put out the rules for the course and what we're doing. So the attendance requirements, in order to, at the end of the program, I want you all to be mikveh attendants who have a job in Israel. In order to do that, you have to also have a certificate, a tuda, at the end of it. And we are able to supply you with a certificate with the Ishur of the Misrad L'Shirutei Dat, the Ministry of Religious Affairs. But in order to get that certificate, you need to attend the classes and participate actively. You are allowed to miss up to 3 classes, but you can't be on for like half an hour of this class and 45 minutes of that class, and you have to be at 85% of the classes as a whole. We all understand that sometimes things come up, but you need to be there. And then at the end of the course, you'll be able to take the test. And the test at the end, in order to get the certification, is very simple. For those of you who might want to take it in Hebrew, you could take the test in Hebrew, you could take the test in English. It's a multiple choice test with a couple of open questions. It's very easy if you were here and you listened to the course. So like, don't even worry about it. You need to study, but it's not a hard course. It's not a hard test. And then, just make sure that you were here for 85%. Also, in terms of active participation, I know that you will all hear that certain people are in different countries. Sometimes some of those countries have power outages or blackouts and don't have great internet, but it's important for us that you're all actually here with your faces and participating and that we can see you. So please make sure that your cameras are on. And I see that you all have you're all muted right now. So in general, mute, but when there's a chance to talk, please turn on your microphone and talk with us. And definitely let us know if you're coming late or you're going to miss something, so that we don't say what happened. We're taking attendance. And we're going to try to start on time, even if my Zoom thing wasn't working today. And we're going to try to end on time, and we will take a 10-minute break in the middle each week. You can definitely feel free to eat or drink, especially in Judith's class, but in general, we know these are nighttime hours. So if you haven't had a chance beforehand, feel free. But, and maybe, some of you will want to take, if there's somebody who's a good note taker, we don't have notes on everything. So if there's somebody who is a good note taker and is willing to share those notes with other people, I'm sure that will be welcome. So that I'm sort of leaving that up for you. We have a review booklet that we'll send at the end, but I don't know if it has notes on all of the halacha. Okay. And one other thing that's important is that we do record the classes, because, as I said, we do know that sometimes you have to miss something. I don't want you to necessarily miss, but we do know that that happens. So the recording is going to be available for you each week, but we want to make sure that this recording stays private, really not to share it with anybody else. Not even, I don't know, I don't even share it with the people who are teachers in a different course, or even a lot of times I don't even share it with people who teach in this course. I'm like, you should remember your material, but you're not watching the video because there are private things that come up. So we really don't share it outside. It's really just for you to make sure that you have it and you are able to watch if you had to miss something. So please, I ask you again to just respect that, and Be'ezrat Hashem, that'll be fine. What I want to do quickly now is, if all my technology works, I want to go through with you how you're going to access the recordings and other material that we're going to share with you. Okay, so I just have to see if this is going to work well. 1 second. Tov. I have to find it, and funnily enough, I got 1,000 WhatsApps today. Okay. I'm gonna try doing share screen. If you can't see it, let me know. I'm sorry. This is very basic. I'm gonna go through like very basic how to get from WhatsApp to the website and with all of that, but I just want to make sure that everybody knows how to access things. So we're gonna take 5 minutes. So I apologize for those of you who this is like, yeah, we're in 2023, but I just want to make sure everybody knows how to get there. So here we go. Let me see if you knew how many windows I had open. Here we go. This is our WhatsApp group at an online Balanit 5. You all see my millions of messages. And if you press on the top headline, you will get to the sidebar that has your Zoom link for this week. I mean, not for this week, for the entire course, you have your Zoom link. And after that, it has the website and the syllabus and the contract. So we're going to go through all of that. Sorry, I want to just copy. Now, when you put, the website has on it all the things that you need. It has all the things that you will need throughout the course. So I'm going to show you how to open it. When you go into it, you must put a capital B and a capital E, or it will not work. Okay, so Balanit 5 Eden, if it doesn't have exactly this combination with capital letters and lowercase letters and the number, it won't work. So are you now seeing it change over to the next page? Did it go for all of you? Great. Look at that. It went right in. I don't know why it didn't ask me for the password, but it didn't. So it's meant to ask for the password, but clearly I've been into this page before when I was helping to create it. Okay, so it'll ask you for the password, you'll put it in, and then it'll go. And then it'll have the recordings every week for that class. Here you'll always be able to find the schedule, which we'll go over in 1 second. And we have a handbook that you will learn with Judith. Hopefully you can see that opening now too. We did it side by side and we did the Hebrew only. You're welcome to print it for yourself. You're welcome to just look. You're welcome to write notes in a booklet. You're welcome to write on this, however you want. But for those of you who have, oh, I see it's full-size pages, but if you print it on pages and then staple it together, the Hebrew and the English will be opposite each other. Okay? So learn in whatever way is best, but we went to a lot of effort to try to make sure we got all the English for all of the Hebrew of all the sources from wherever they were. So hopefully that can be a good resource for you if you want to review that. And you'll learn that with Judith. Now, are you seeing the schedule come up? Yep, great. So this is something that you have all gotten. I just want to go through what we're going to be learning together. And if anybody has any questions, unmute yourself because I can't see well at the same time while I'm screen sharing this. And feel free to ask, okay? We're going, like it says here, we're going to have a 10 to 15 minute break every week. We're going to start with a lot of halakha, nida review, and then mikveh immersion and the laws around mikveh immersion, timing, what is chatzitza, et cetera, In the middle of that, we'll have a session on creating a positive tevilah experience. And then we're going to have a session about different topics in the woman's health cycle. We're going to have a session on fear of water and then positive communication skills. I hope that none of this switched, but I think this is all correct. And I'm going to say right now that sometimes things switch, especially in the middle of a war, if people are not around. But, so be patient with us. If it switches, it's not out of malice. It's because we were dealing with some situation. Then we're going to be learning about domestic violence. And then hopefully Rav Rimon will be available for us to ask questions, particularly on the halachic material that we've just covered, but also in general, if you want to ask Rav Rimon, who is really a very well-respected and accessible posek. He's going to be coming to meet us and to answer questions. Then we're going to do a session on OCD. We'll do a session about the structure of mikvah. And I think it was, who told me that that they cleaned the mikvah, and Aliza, right? Somebody told me. Oh, Sari, that's right. So Sari, you can share with us what it's actually like when you get in there. Not today, on that day will be better. Okay. And do that. So we're going to talk about the structure. We're going to have a class on Shalom Bayit and the transition into coming back to intimacy after the break. We'll talk about sexual abuse and its impact on Tefillah, breast cancer, practical aspects of working, what is the concept of Nida D'Oraita, which comes up sometimes today. And I don't know why it was written this way. It should really say working with non-traditional brides and others, and then welcoming a bride at the mikvah. We'll have an actual session for you to review the halacha with Judith as a proper session. You can like ask her all your questions. Then we'll have a session about the spiritual aspects of mikvah, and then infant infertility and pregnancy loss, first aid, which the first aid course is a requirement from the government. If you have a first aid certificate that is current and you can show us the certificate, you don't have to come to this one particularly. That being said, they do talk about stuff that is specific to mikvah. I know it's hard to imagine having a first aid course over Zoom, but it's worked before and filled the requirement, so you can do it there. But if you have a current first aid certificate, you can send that to us. And then we'll have a class on what you need to know before actually starting to work as a Balanit. Followed by our graduation and review of our test. The test, I believe, is going to be given out the week of this. I don't know, something about this date does not look right to me. Maybe that's meant to say 4/2, not 4/12. I think that's going to be given out around here, but we'll double check on that. Anybody have any questions? I just went through all this stuff. Anybody have any questions or things they want to share at this point? Anything that isn't clear? I'm sorry for all the technical, but okay. Okay. So what I'd like to do is to go around and maybe start to meet each other. Unless, Romy, is there anything else that you want to bring up before we get to that?
Nothing for the moment.
Okay,
thanks.
Great. So give me 10 seconds to ping Judith if she wants to get on. Let me just call her for a second, because she also wants to meet all of you. It's important for all of us. You can get on now if you want, because we're going to do the circle. Okay? No. I mean, for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Yeah. Great. Okay. Sorry. Thank you for the live time update. So let's go around and have everybody introduce themselves. Say who you are, where you live, something like what you do in life, and tell us, I guess, something that I would be interested in hearing is what is your vision of a good Balanit? Or like, what does success in this course look like to you? Something like that. Or why did you want to do this course? One of those kind of things. So we get a better understanding about how you're looking at mikvah and tevilah and all of that. And when Judith comes on, then somebody has to remind me that Yael will never forgive me if I don't take a picture of all of us together. So she wrote it to me 5 times today. Don't forget a picture. Don't forget a picture. So help me with that. But when Judith comes on, hopefully in a minute. Okay, so who is willing to volunteer to be the first person to introduce themselves? Tina, great.
Am I unmuted? Okay.
Yep.
Go first. Hi, everyone. I'm Tina Lamb. Made Aliyah 2 years ago. I live here in Yerushalayim. I'm a mother, a mother-in-law, a grandmother. I would say my motivation or my goals in becoming a Balanit is, first of all, I think I was very fortunate. I spent really most of my mikvah life in the community of West Hempstead and Long Island. I was very fortunate that we had a wonderful Balanit for the, for those decades. And I think she was inspired by a wonderful Mara D'Atra that we had in West Hempstead. And she respected our privacy. She was not intrusive. She was kind. She was understanding. And so I feel like I was very fortunate in having that experience. I will say that we just married off our youngest child 2 weeks ago. So, and I will say that not all of my daughters and daughters-in-law have been that fortunate to have that experience. And it's something that I feel very passionate about providing for as many women as possible. And I'll just add also that I'm 61, but it's been 20 years since I was at the mikvah, because 20 years ago, I discovered I had the BRCA2 cancer gene mutation, and I had my ovaries removed then. And that was, basically a very quick and sudden end to my mikvah experience. And then 10 years ago, I had prophylactic mastectomies, Baruch Hashem, cancer-free, but I was told by my doctors that that's something I needed to do to protect myself. And so I feel like I can come to the table with those life experiences that I hope would make me someone who, could make women of all different, backgrounds and different, medical situations, comfortable. And I'm really looking forward to this course in order to be able to do that. So thank you for offering this. And hello, everyone.
Thank you. We're really, really happy. That was a great introduction to why you want to do this and like having a positive experience. So thank you. Okay. Is it okay with you guys if we go around and delete? You'll go around by my screen because apparently it looks different.
I was just gonna say I'm not a Zoom user, so I'm like, do we all see the same order? I don't know, but okay. It fits me, no problem. Hi, I'm Dalit. I live in Efrat. Moved to Efrat last year, but was living in Netanya before. Made Aliyah in 94, a long time ago. Married. It's actually a second marriage. And our oldest son, stepson, just had a baby. So now I'm a grandmother also, and it's really exciting. Yeah, it's fun. I would like to say that, and I'm a programmer. That's what I do during the day. But I think that my personal experience with going to the mikvah has been nasty. I have not enjoyed going. I've had awful balaniot until I moved to Efrat, and the whole thing changed because the approach here is so entirely different and respectful, and it actually makes it fun. Whereas before it was like, oh my God, I have to go again. I just would dread it. And now I mean, the first few times that I went while I was here, I would thank them afterwards. I'm like, thank you so much for such a good experience, because this is just not what I'm used to. And so I guess I'm on the Vadata Mikvaot here. And then when they told me about the course, I was just like, wow, after having such a good experience here, I definitely want to be a part of that and making sure that other people have the same experience. So that's it.
That is great. I really hope that the people that you've gone with are the graduates of the program that we did a few years ago.
They probably are.
I hope so. But the truth is, even if not, the people in Efrat are beautiful, wonderful neshama, and
they really are
amazing human beings. So that's really, it's so nice to hear that a person who doesn't have a good experience can like really be like changed by coming to a place where they have a beautiful, good, positive experience. And it could just
it blew me away. It blew me away. Yeah.
That's amazing. Good. Okay, thank you, Dilly. We're excited to have you taking part. And we'll get to that. Penina, I'm not clear if you're on a phone, but are you able to speak?
Yes, I am. It's easier for me to hear if I dial in versus on the computer, that's all. But hello, everyone. Also, Daniela, thank you for bringing us a new friend. She's gorgeous. Very nice to meet you. I'm Tina Seidman. I live in New York, in Manhattan. I am going to be the odd man out on a lot of things in this course because I am the single person joining the course. My professional background has been in patient advocacy. I actually started out in research advocacy and did some of the earlier BRCA clinical trials. Worked in oncology for a long time and then transitioned over to reproductive health, and for the past 6 years have been working at Planned Parenthood. And as soon as I started working there, I started hearing everyone's stories. Also did a lot of work with not only general reproductive health, but also intimate partner violence. And then last year, I became a EMT, and I volunteer as an EMT with Ezra Session. I know that pronunciation probably hurts the ears of people who speak Hebrew, but it is the all-women's volunteer ambulance corps in New York, really in Brooklyn. And somehow along the way, I started getting called for all of the psych emergencies. And so I've been working with a lot of women in very medically, both mental health and physical health, emotionally fraught settings, in instances of intimate partner violence. In this past week, we had a call from a woman who fell at the mikvah. And so there are a lot of different avenues that I've been coming in from an actual professional and also volunteer perspective. And I am not looking to necessarily be a Balanit as a job, but to be in a position where I can support individuals who are going through a very difficult time when it comes to mikvah.
Great. Thank you. And we're happy that you're able to join and gain from the course. And this was an interesting, Pnina, I hope you'll permit me to share, like, from our point of view. We had a big debate about whether it was the right kind of thing, because halachically, you'll discover there's no requirement to be married, but yet that's what communities expect. So we asked our Rabbanim, we asked like our whole Vat of Rabbanim, and Pnina asked her local Rav and got a recommendation from a local Rav. And as a result of that, we're like, part of, stretching your boundaries is learning what you can do and how to hold different things that you might not have thought of doing before, or that were not the reality before. So I actually appreciate, Pnina, that you shared that, but also that you are giving us the opportunity to practice what we preach in trying to make the mikvah a welcoming space. So thank you. And I'm sure that you're going to have lots of interesting things and lots of different weeks to share from your experience of having been called in different cases that can really shed light on things. So thank you. Adina.
Hello, everyone. My name's Dina. I live in Jerusalem. I lived in England for the last 2 years, and I just came back about 2 months ago. And in my personal experience, I have gone through some infertility issues the 7 years that I've been married. And I decided that I wanted to take this course and kind of be part of the Balanit program in order to give a little bit of myself to others, because I know how difficult it can be to go to mikvah. I personally don't I don't really struggle with going to mikvah in that sense. I do sometimes find it to be a little bit overwhelming, but not in an infertility point of view, but more of a convenience, I guess, point of view. Sometimes I find it a little bit difficult to get in the right state of mind in order to go through the whole process and everything like that. But I would like to give a little bit of myself to create that kind of calm experience for others. If I can give a little bit, learn something new, something that could, help in different ways that I can. And I think this is a kind of time that I'm able to give to other people. And that's kind of what inspired me to be here and to start this.
Thank you. And Adina, just so you know, I keep hearing about how they need more Balanit in Yerushalayim. So hopefully we can help you get in there, but it's exciting. All right. Judith, I'm so happy to see you and so happy that Adina introduced herself. My top row on my thing, we have already introduced themselves, and you'll have to catch that up later. But because I don't want Yael to kill me, we're going to do a picture now. Literally, it's like sitting here. So everybody is invited to smile and look at the camera. Excellent. Okay, perfect. Okay. I don't have the list in front of me. So your name is not Handyman Dave, but tell us what your name is so we can fix it and then.
Sorry, my husband was using Zoom before I was. I'm Tahara. Next session, I'll change the name.
Here, I'll change it. Whoop. Let's get it right though.
Close.
But you should be
instead
able
of the
to
H
do
and
it.
A at the end. So
AH,
close.
right?
Yeah, close.
No,
Without
no,
the H, but whatever, it works.
without the H.
Yeah, at the end. It's
Okay,
cool. It works.
now we're good. Now we're good. Now.
There you go. So, hi, I'm Tahara. I live in Beersheba. I actually just moved here a couple months ago from Yerushalayim. So it's definitely been a fun experience living down south. But yeah, so what I want to take from this course and the importance to me about this is that thank God I have never had any negative experiences, but I know many women who've had. And you never know what a simple gesture or understanding or even being able to understand what a person is trying to communicate without them even speaking. That shows that they're uncomfortable, that shows that they need something. So that's what I'm really trying to gain from this, is to make someone's experience of such a beautiful mitzvah better if they have had negative experiences. Plus my aunt is a Balanit, so I feel like I need to follow in the footsteps. It's a beautiful mitzvah, and yeah, I hope that's what I gain from it.
Tara, what do you do outside of settling in Beersheba, which at this point is unbelievably challenging, I'm sure?
So I am actually a QA engineer for a high-tech company in Jerusalem. So I work from home and commute. I'm actually currently on maternity leave. I don't know if you remember, but I was in labor with you when I was having the interview.
That's right.
That was fun.
All good. Life cycle experiences.
So many interesting things.
Did you know she was in labor when you were interviewing her?
She said, I think I'm in labor.
Oh my God, that's
No,
crazy. And you still continued on?
Well, yeah.
Like, let me finish the interview and then I'll give birth. Okay.
I wanted to do this. No, I said the baby can wait a second. I'm doing this.
Okay.
It wasn't like an hour interview.
No.
It was very
I think that there
short.
forces the women to interview all of it. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
And also, there's so much connection, which we can talk about during this course, but we don't usually, between the water of the mikvah and the birth of the world, and how mikvah renews us and gives us life again. So we can all get to that, but perfect way to segue in. So thank you. All right, Sari, you're next on my screen.
Okay, so hi everybody. Okay, this is weird. Okay, everyone's so basically, so I've been doing the mikvah Balanit already for about almost 20 years. And I mean, on and off, it's like I got in there just because I live in the Yishuv Meitzad. It's like out in the Shtachim over here. And I actually love it. It's like the most amazing experience that I've actually have had. What can I say? And what I love about it is that it's just watching women go into the mikvah and they're just so calm. And since the corona, which is I think everybody should really do, instead of us going into the room, we back out of the room, Then we start here when we hear the woman going into the water. That's when we open the door. Then we go in, and then we actually let the woman dunk, and it gives them such a good feeling. And then they feel like more tsanua type of thing. And after they finish dunking, instead of waiting for them to come out, I just leave, and then they just take what they need. And then of course I give them the time to daven, which is very important, I feel. And it's just like an amazing, amazing mitzvah. Like you were saying also about like how I actually started cleaning the mikvah. That is the most amazing thing. It's like some people like they think it's just like such a tilcha type of thing to actually go and to clean the mikvah. And I do clean the mikvah, and then by one point you have to literally like take out all the water and squeeze it out by hand. So I sit there and I daven for each person that needs Yeshua. It's the most amazing thing. And finally, like you wipe it down, and then you have to come back again. Like about a couple hours later, and you do it again, and then you just keep davening. And then when I put the water back in, I sit there for a half hour just davening for people. I feel like the water of the mikvah is such a holy thing that it really, I believe, it really brings Yeshua. Like I tell also, like a lot of times, my woman that I actually go with, that I tell them that they should really daven in the mikvah. Because I remember learning, I don't know if there's a source to it, maybe you guys know, I have no idea. They say that a malachim walk around with the woman the whole entire day when they have to go to the mikvah. They come into the mikvah with them, then they go dunking inside the water, they dunk with you, and they come out with you. And that's why they say it's a big thing for us to sit and daven in the mikvah itself. And then of course they stay with them until the end of the night. So I think it's incredible. And a person, like everyone said, they want to make like a big difference in the mikvah. And you know, there's a little smile and a little bit of saying that I'm here for you. Take your time, and just like it's incredible how people can just calm down and just enjoy. And I love it. I really, really do. But yeah, and I'm really excited about this course. I always love learning, and if I can actually bring more to where I am, what I'm doing now will be just incredible. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. I think
thank you.
that your gisha is very in sync with Eden's gisha. So hopefully you'll feel as you go along that now you're learning some sources for the things that you feel are, intuitively right. Be'ezrat Hashem.
Yeah, yeah, but you do, but thank you very much. Yeah.
Andrea.
Hi, I am Andrea. I live in a frat for 10 years. I met Alia from Argentina. I wanted to take this course a long time ago. For many reasons I couldn't. But now, like 2 months ago, I saw a documentary about women going to the mikveh and have been suffering for abuse. And I was like in shock because never passed to my mind that women are suffering in this part of our life. And I say I enjoy all the time going to the mikvah, hearing a frat. The experience is really nice. The Balanit, they are amazing. Like someone told her that she also lives in a frat. So I never think about other women suffering from abuse in the mikveh from the Balanit. So that made me feel that I need to start doing this job here in a frat. And also I know that they are recruiting now people, about women to do the job. So I say now is my opportunity and I need to take this opportunity and don't let it go. So I am a mother of 3 kids. I volunteer in Kotat Salah, and that's a little bit about me. So great. I am happy to join this course and learn a lot. I also had a good Madriha Kala before I got married. She was Gila Brenner that I told Naomi, and she was amazing, and she teach me a lot of stuff that it was really, really nice, and how a woman can enjoy this time in the mikveh, not like just because you need to do it, just also because it's a time with you and Hashem, and also after with your husband, and it's unique at this time. Like, so happy to be here, and thank you.
Thank you. Some of you might notice that there's more than one person from Efrat. So Bemet, right now the Moitzah Datit in Efrat is on a mission to get more Balaniot. So they offered that people could participate. And some are in this course and some are in our parallel Hebrew course that's happening tomorrow night. And we're very happy that you're all here. So I'm actually thinking that since most of you, I think except for Jade maybe, well, we'll get to, are in Israel, maybe we'll have at least one in-person meeting. Jade, maybe you want to come to Israel for like a night, but we'll talk about that. But we have to get through the circle. So Aliza, you're next. Because I don't remember if everybody's in Israel. That we have to get through the circle. Here we go. Does this help? No. There we
Thank
go.
you. Okay, no, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, and I'm so excited to participate in the class. I have been working here in the mikvah for the last 2 years here. Yeah, and it's just so special. I know when I open the door for the ladies, you know, when they ring the bell and they say, "Oh, thank God you're here and you're on tonight." It's so special. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to learning more.
Beautiful. Do you work outside of the mikveh as well?
Oh, so yeah, during the day, I'm the director of a preschool here. Big preschool. Yeah.
Gorgeous. All right. Hopefully we can expand your knowledge and it'll be a good combination.
Yeah.
I'm
Thank you.
glad that you're joining us, even though it's early in the morning there. No? What time
No,
is
it's
it in Phoenix?
perfect. It's from 10 to 10 o'clock in the morning.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Except for, is this week different? Because we just changed the clock, so it's going to change.
Yeah, it would have been 9, but now it's 10. So 10 is great. Yeah.
Okay, but the clocks are going to change again when America
But
and
we
South
don't
Africa and
change.
everybody else. You don't
Phoenix
change?
doesn't change clocks. No, we don't have daylight savings here. We stay the same time all year.
Who knew that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Arizona is for Americans also, by the way.
Is what?
What'd you say, Panina?
Oh, I said that Arizona times get very confusing for people because I have 13 clinics in Arizona, and it gets very confusing for us as well.
I thought that the only ones who have their own time were the Indian tribes, who all have their own time, and it's like really confusing when you want to go to a national park and you want to visit. But who knew that Phoenix? Okay.
Soon to be the rest of the world. That's what we want also.
Great.
I grew up in Phoenix. I know exactly. There's no daylight savings time. It was wild when I did finally move to Israel and there was daylight savings time. That threw me.
Also South Africa. Jade, you don't change clocks, no? No.
Okay, we have to get to Jade. We've been referencing South Africa like every 10 minutes, but not everybody met Jade yet. So one second, we're gonna soon, I'm sure that we're gonna see the other connections, right? We already see that, there are 2 people who have a Phoenix. I actually lived in Phoenix for a while too. I don't remember that because I was in 2nd grade, but there's going to be, I'm sure, a lot of connections because there always are. That's how it always works. So, okay, Daniela, you're the next in my circle.
Hi, I'm Daniela. I'm a little hoarse. I actually know about the Eden Center because I learned through the Kala course through the Eden Center, and I loved it. So if anyone is thinking about being a Kala teacher, I really recommend it. And actually through teaching Kalot, I realized that I really enjoy one of the sessions taking them to the mikveh. And then when I moved to Efrat, I'm also from Efrat, they were missing Balaniot. So then I volunteered to join the Balaniot team. And they took me even though I didn't do a course. And I had so many questions. I kept, my brother's like my rabbi, so I've been asking my brother questions, and then I actually made a few mistakes because we'll probably learn about it, but I asked questions after the woman left the mikveh, and then he told me that it could really be problematic for those women if it would have been problematic. So Baruch Hashem, the questions asked were okay, like they were fine. But I felt like I learned from time to time, but he kept telling me just go do the course. And then they opened the option. And so I joined. I'm really excited to be here. During the day, I work as a physical therapist in Shaarei Tzedek, and also privately as a pelvic floor physical therapist and a child development. So I feel like I see women in different stages of their life, which is really fun. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. We're excited to have you. Not in the first course, more than that. So we're glad you're here. And I know I didn't tell Judith that it was like a last minute switch. So I'm sure she'll be more happy even too. Jade.
Hello, everyone. So I'm the odd one out with the strange accent because I'm from South Africa. I just finished 7 years of studying psychology, so I'm finally a therapist, which is very exciting. I did the Eden Center color course, which was amazing. And I just finished the South African color course, so that was also really cool. I unfortunately have not had such good experiences when it comes to the mikveh. And although, you think it's something you can brush off, it's really not. These experiences sort of have stayed with me ever since. So I really am passionate about doing this course because I want to make sure that, what happened to me doesn't ever happen to anyone else. And I think that it's such a holy mitzvah, and it was designed, purely just for women, and it should be something that is beautiful and special and connecting and empowering, and not something that should make us feel bad or guilty or judged. So I'm very passionate about doing this, especially within my community. And yeah, I'm South African, so I hope that I can somehow make a difference.
Be'ezrat Hashem, I am sure that you will make a difference by teaching people, by being a mikveh attendant, and just by spreading that it can to other people in your community, it can make a difference. So we are glad to have you as part of the team. I really feel like you're all going to be ambassadors for the joint mission of making mikvah so much better. So Becky, thank you for being so patient while everybody else was sharing. Please.
So I'm Becky. I live in Harish. Been here for a little over 2 years, but I've been in Israel since 2008. I am certified as a cognitive behavioral therapist, but I'm actually at the moment, for the past few years, I've been home with my kids, but I am also a Kala teacher through Nishmat. So I've been doing that for about 4 years, and thank God I've had a lot of kalot, and I've really, really enjoyed it. I'm not sure how this happened, but I ended up, I don't know, my name was, I guess, passed around, and I ended up teaching I am teaching a ton of secular kalot and traditional kalot. It just sort of happened. It's been really, really wonderful. Also very tricky for a lot of reasons, but it's been amazing. And I guess one of the things that inspired me to want to do this course is, first of all, when I teach, I would love to have the credibility when I talk about mikvah and I talk about the Balanit and her role, to be able to be like, actually, I'm a Balanit and I can tell you from what I've learned, and I think that might help women to be more at ease. And also through teaching also secular kalot, one of the things that I really try to stress, because obviously can't stress a ton of halacha when you teach these women, but one of the things I do really try to stress is like how to make mikvah a positive experience. I mean, I do that as well with religious kalot, but I think whatever, it's important for everyone. And so I felt like doing this could like really, really help expand my knowledge. And Bezrat Hashem, if it works out to also work in the mikvah, I think that would be wonderful as well. And to just try to give everyone as good of an experience as possible.
That is amazing. And like goes together with so many other, I think this is going to be an amazing group of people who have a lot to share with each other and overlapping interests. So Judith, I'm going to actually give you now a minute to introduce yourself, but also I want to ask you before I have to get off for tonight, but we usually do a game of oh my gosh, my whole screen shifted. So maybe you and Romy will do that together. I can introduce it. Do you want to introduce yourself first though, Judith? but you have to
I'll
unmute.
unmute myself first, though. Hi, I'm Judith Vogel. Nice to meet all of you. I work for the Eden Center, doing many things there, one of which is running the Madricha Kala program to train the Kala teachers, and also teaching the halachic piece in the Balaniot classes, amongst other things. I'm a Yoetz Halacha, I'm a sex counselor, I teach Gemara and Halacha in one of the Midrashot, and a veteran Kala teacher. So I like to bring all that experience together to teach you. We're going to do, when I meet with you, we're going to be focusing on the halacha and the development of the halacha, and specifically the halacha that is necessary for balaniot. So this is not going to be in place of how we teach kalot. That's not the focus. This is going to definitely have an extreme focus on chatzitza and mikvah and balaniot and all those specific areas that are related to the halacha, but we're not going through all the topics. So that's what I'm here for. And to answer any questions that may come up throughout the time regarding halachas at the mikvah. So that's me.
I'll just say that Judith is also an amazing resource, although we overload her so much that she can't always answer every question, but she is amazing at, if you have something and, oh my gosh, what should I do? And is this, she's amazing at giving guidance and answers. And today somebody called me with, she's from the north, she's Mefunen, Yerushalayim. Her husband is a Miluim, but she's supposed to go to the mikveh tomorrow, and she's gonna get off today. He's gonna get off today and surprise. And I was like, no, don't call Judith because she won't have time because she's busy right now. But I was like, oh, Judith can answer her or whatever. But I gave her Rav Rimon's number because I figured he has, whatever. But so here's what I'd like to do. I'm going to introduce a game, and then Romy and Judith, between you can figure out who should do what. And I'm changing it up a little bit, Judith, in that
We didn't
want
speak
to get
before.
to know
Does
a little bit.
Romy have the game also? Do you have the game also? Or is it?
Yeah,
okay.
she has it. So here's the thing. We want people to get to know each other better. And in the context of this, maybe we'll make some more connections. And I'm sorry already that I have to go, but I have to go. So we're going to do a thing with turning on and off your cameras. We're going to start with everybody having their camera on. And if what we say is not true for you, turn your camera off. So anybody for whom it's true will have their camera. So if I say anybody who has blue eyes, keep your camera on, then, I have to turn my camera off if it actually does that, right? And then we'll be able to see the people who have blue eyes. Woohoo, nice. Okay. So wait, now I got confused. Who does? Just raise your hand because that didn't work so well. Jade and Sarah, you have blue eyes? Sarah, do you have blue eyes? No, okay, so when we really do the game, you have to turn it off, okay? And then we'll be able to see that only Jade has blue eyes. Okay, we usually do this in reverse, that you only turn on if it's true, but I want to do it the other way around. So let's see. Judith might be skeptical, but let's see if it works. But Romy, I'm going to leave this in your hands, and I'm going to thank all of you for being here. And Judith, thank you for being here. And I'm excited that you're all starting, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just check that I'm assuming that I've been made co-host if I can unmute myself?
You can unmute yourself no matter what, but now you're gonna be actually I'm gonna make you a co-host, and I'm gonna make Judith the host.
Perfect.
Okay. There we go. Okay. So
okay.
Yeah,
Judith, we're ready to start the game.
Ask questions also, okay.
Okay, but I'm giving this. Romy, you start with questions. Tell me if you need me to come in. We're good.
Okay.
We didn't plan this
Happy
before.
to do
This
that.
is bad. Now you're saying.
And if you have anything in particular you'd like to ask, then go ahead. I'll also just start by saying my accent might be a bit watered down, Jade, but you have a fellow strange accent, originally South African. So
It was so clear. That was like so clear that your accent was South African.
Okay, so we'll start by asking if anybody who has made Aliyah within the last year. So if you have not made Aliyah within the last year, then you turn your camera off. Okay. So we have, Sari, you've made Aliyah within the last year?
I don't know why, but the Zoom keeps shutting off on me. Is it only me or is there other people like that?
Okay, everyone can come back because I think we have no people who've made Aliyah within the last year. I'm just over that. I made Aliyah last July, so I'm just past that. Anybody else having difficulty with the Zoom shutting off? No, okay. So I guess we'll just bear with you, sorry, and
Okay. No, it just shut off about twice already, so I don't know. It shuts down and it pops me back on. I don't know, something weird. Okay. Whatever,
Okay.
we'll just have to deal with it a little bit.
Okay. Anybody in the group been married for longer than 15 years? So if you have not been married longer than 15 years, then we turn cameras off. Okay, would anybody like to share anything further about that, or how long you've been married for?
I'm married
I'll go
22
first.
years.
Oh, go ahead. 22, you said?
23.
23. My anniversary was this past week, and we were 20 years.
28 years.
Exacto.
Amazing. Okay,
40
so wow,
40
we
years.
have some.
Tina, what'd you say?
40 years. We just had our anniversary.
40.
Wow.
You don't look like you've been married 40
Yeah, you
years.
really don't look like that.
Yeah, my
no.
gray hairs are all here. You're just not seeing them.
We can't see them at all. You look awesome.
How old were you when you got
Sure.
married? Tina, how old were you when you got married?
I'm 61.
Wow.
I don't
You really
believe
don't
you.
look that old. Okay, maybe all age in the same way. Gosh.
Amen.
Wow.
Okay. Okay, so I guess camera's back on, and if you had heard of the Eden Center before you saw this course advertised, keep your camera on. Okay, so okay, so most people here have, actually maybe I should have asked that question the other way around. So the people who've turned off their camera, this is the first time that you've heard of the Eden Center and you've joined this course. Maybe we need you to come back. Sorry, I asked that question a bit backwards, I think. So for those people, this is the first time that you'd heard of the Eden Center and joined the course. Does anybody want to share how you heard of the Eden Center and how you got in touch?
The Moatza bias.
I think
Give me the number.
Sorry, do you want to, should we just do that one at a time? Because I heard you both at the same time. Adina, do you want to say first?
Sure. I saw it as an advertisement, I want to say on Facebook, but I'm not sure that's completely accurate. Asking about a Balanit course, and if you're interested, then to email or call or something like that. I became part of a mailing list a while ago. I want to say like a year or two ago, but it wasn't so relevant at the time. And then another email had come to me about the course starting now, and it happened to be that it was a really good time, and then started. Had the interview. My God.
Right. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And sorry, how did you hear?
So in order for me to actually be on the payroll through the Moatza bias, so they told me I need to take this course, and they're the ones that gave me your phone number, the place's phone number.
Okay.
So
Would anybody else like to share how they heard of Eden Center?
My daughter took your Kala teacher course and just was so inspired by it that I felt inspired. And when I saw the advertisement for this, I said, it's for me. So
now I'm putting everything together. Oh, okay. You look exactly like your daughters. Okay, fine.
Oh.
Wow. Okay, fine.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
I just taught Devora. I just taught Devora.
Oh, Devorah's my youngest, but you taught Bracha. Bracha
But I just
Berger.
taught Devora now.
Oh, Devorah. Oh, her college teacher. Oh my gosh. Wow.
That's funny. Maybe I should. Wow. Okay, we're going to talk about that afterwards, but that's really funny. Okay. Whoa, connection.
Move on.
Okay,
Okay.
getting back to this. Go ahead.
Okay, so can we, if you'd like to leave your camera on, if you have ever needed to tovel on Leil Haseder. Okay, I don't know if anybody wants to share. That's actually quite a low number if you think about it. But if would either of you like to share anything about that experience, or whether you found it challenging, or I imagine challenging?
Oh, I didn't have to. Was it you did or you didn't? Sorry.
I think I said sorry. I think I said to leave your camera on if you had to.
Oh, okay. No, so
Tovel on
I
Leil
did Erev Rosh
Haseder.
Hashanah, not Leil Haseder. Bye.
Okay. Okay. So we can all come back on, I think. Anybody in the group who has had a particularly spiritual mikveh experience and would like to share something about that?
I can share something. Many years ago, I was in California and I had to dip. And it was my first time dipping outside of Israel because I had gotten married here. And I happened to be visiting my aunt, who is a Balanit. It was actually a really special experience because not only was the like mikveh beautiful and well attended, but it was like as if my family was like taking care of me completely. And it was the first time she was like, you can like stay in there and like daven and just chill in there. I'm like, I can stay inside. And she goes, yeah, I'm gonna walk out, do your thing. And it was really amazing because it's not like here in Israel where there's people waiting in lines. You have to like call, make an appointment for like a slot. So I really actually loved having that time to be able to daven and just to be like completely immersed in the mikveh and just kind of like chill in the mikveh and just experience it. It was really wonderful, very eye-opening. Like, wow, this is how it's supposed to be.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I definitely think there's something about not being rushed. There always seems to come. I don't know. For me, often there seems to have a feeling of like being rushed and being a person in the queue. So, thank you for sharing that. Would anybody else like to share anything in particular about a particularly spiritual experience? No, I'm sure there will be plenty of time during the course to share more thoughts on that.
Becky, did you just unmute yourself for like a second about to talk? You can share, only if you want to. I saw that. I caught that.
Oh, I mean, it's actually very similar to what Tahara said, but I was vacationing one time with my husband's family. We were in a place called Yavniel, which is like close to the Kinneret, and it's like a massive Breslov community. And so I had to go to the mikvah while we were there, and it was very hard to figure out where it was and find it, and I left by myself, and my husband was like a bit concerned. There's like no lights there at night, like it's a very small place, whatever. And so I got there and the mikvah lady says to me, yeah, okay, no problem. Like go into this room. There's like two people in front of you. So I was living in Givat Shmuel at the time. Two people in front of you meant you'd be in and out in 10 minutes. Like it was, I'm in the room for like over a half an hour, just waiting and waiting and waiting, and no one's coming. And my husband called me. He's like, are you okay? Like, did you find it? Did you make it there? I had no idea what was going on. Finally, I get in after like 35, 40 minutes. I go in, and afterwards the Balanit says to me, I immerse, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna go, bye. And she walks out, and I was like, wait, what? And I like had this time to also daven. And it was so beautiful. I never had anyone offer that to me. I don't know, it wasn't like time was not it didn't mean anything to them there. They were very into making it a very spiritual experience. So it was really, really lovely.
Thank you. I think probably last question for this game, just probably something interesting and also maybe important. If anybody speaks a second language, leave your camera on if you speak a second language or another language.
Aside from Hebrew?
Well, so yeah, Hebrew's probably one. I guess if that certainly counts, or if you speak any other languages, if anybody would like to share anything on that. Anyone? No? Okay.
But don't.
Sorry, go ahead, Tina. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Okay. I speak English, fluent Hebrew, and I can get by in French on a pinch.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Good talent.
Penina?
So Hebrew, English, Yiddish. I used to work for a German organization, and I had a rule that if you wanted to have a meeting with me, you had to teach me a new word. So I know the funniest collections of words, not bad words, just funny ones. I am pretty decent in Spanish and spent a week in Mexico City this summer in effectively Spanish Bupan, which was really fun.
Wow.
And when I was in college, I went to Ukraine for Pesach a couple of times and picked up some Russian. And I also have a degree in classics, so I can read Latin and Greek.
Wow, pretty impressive.
Where did you learn Yiddish?
From all of the old people in my family who thought I didn't understand them.
Or like grandparents and the like?
Yeah.
Oh, the little Yiddish I know is from that.
Amongst the cousins, I was sent into the room to eavesdrop because I was picking it up faster than the other cousins. But that was my job, to eavesdrop on grandparents.
Where did you grow up?
In Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn. Fun. Okay. Wow. That's amazing. That's really fun. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just about to hand over to you, I think, just to say thank you for everyone for sharing those bits of information and for helping us all to get to know each other a little bit more. And Judith,
Let me
if
ask
you're
you a
ready,
question.
over
Where are
to
you
you.
coming from? Sorry, Romy, where are you coming from?
Where am I coming from? So I live in Ranana. I'm actually away in London at the moment, and I am originally from Johannesburg, South Africa.
So how do you don't know Hebrew?
How do I not know Hebrew?
Yeah.
I do know Hebrew, but not as fluent as I would like to be, but I'm working on it. We made Aliyah last July, so getting there slowly.
So that's why you shut your camera off.
Yes, I think yeah, I mean that's a good question actually. I don't think I'm fluent enough to have kept my camera on, but maybe next year I'll be able to leave it off.
Maybe with listening to the news in Hebrew all this time, you'll be able to keep it on.
Yes, learning new words as well. Over to you.
Okay, it's 8:20. We usually take a break between 8:20 and 8:30. That is the usual time, a 10-minute break. So we're gonna stick with that one. We're gonna take a 10-minute break. We're gonna come back, and I want everyone to prepare for learning. We're gonna go into and start the learning. We're gonna talk about the background of Nida Zava, like where does Nida come from, and then we're gonna start talking about basically how to become a Nida and things of the sort. So get your pens and paper, really just computer or whatever you're going to write on. We're going to use we're going to use a little bit of Vayikra, but I'm going to share it with you on the screen. So get ready for that. 8:21, we'll take a 10-minute break. So 8:31, and then we'll start. And then we go until 10 o'clock. I don't know what countries you're in, but you'll have to figure out the timing based on that. So from right now, 10-minute break, and then we'll come back. Sounds great? All right. Get some good chocolate. Hello, ladies. Turning back on my camera. Here we go. Hello, how are you? Nice to see all of you. Hope you are well relaxed. Now, that was only like 10 minutes. All I got to do was clean up dinner. So annoying. All right, what are you going to do? I hope you did more fun things. I mean, I guess those in America, it's still daylight outside. So, okay. So we're going to jump right into it. I don't know people's backgrounds and where people are coming from. And so I'm going to do it a little bit, text-based, but we're not really, as I said before, the focus is not so much on the background. The focus here in this course is more going to be on chatzitzot and the barriers and mikveh and all that. But I do think it's important to get a little bit of background. So I'm going to try to put everyone up to speed. Some of you have heard this before, some have not. But we're going to talk about the background of Nida. I can even start off with a few questions that have come up in the situation here in Israel to help guide us and focus us on why it's important to divide up some of these things. I don't know if Naomi started with this. Did Naomi give you some of the examples of questions she received based on the situation in Israel? Okay, fine. So we've been talking about it because me, as a Yoatzin Halacha, giving advice in the laws of Nida, I get one type of question. And Naomi, who works very much with Balaniyot and Mikvah, gets a certain type of question also. So I'll give Naomi the chance to say the questions she's been getting, but I'll give you a little example of the difference. For example, Naomi has been getting questions about Balaniyot that are finding it hard, especially, let's say, 2 weeks ago in Israel, to find a way to get to the mikvah. If you're down south and no one is outside and the buses aren't working and you don't have a car, so then it might be hard to actually get to the mikvah as the Balanit. So she was, or if your children are scared, let's say you have children that are very fearful of what's going on in the situation and don't want to leave you, as the Balanit, how are you going to get to the mikvah? So those are some of the types of questions that she's been getting, or trying to find out which mikvaot have a safer, mamad, like the safe room, and which one have bomb shelters, etc. The questions that I've been getting, and this is why I'm starting off with this, is to focus a little bit on the Nida Zava, which I want to get into, is that this past week, especially here in Israel, the reservists were called up. Many of them were called up on Simchat Torah or the days after Simchat Torah, and now they're actually getting breaks. So they're being let out for about 24 hours up to a weekend. So for example, on our block, I think most of the men and the children, they came home for Shabbat. It was amazing. It was amazing. The streets were filled. Everyone was super happy. And I've gotten a lot of questions about women who are in Nida for those 24 hours / weekend when the husbands come home. So that means you left Simchas Torah. I haven't seen you in 2.5 weeks. And now you're coming back and I'm in Nida. Is there a way to get the woman to the mikveh earlier? That is the number one question. How do we get, this woman is in Nida, how do we get her to the mikveh early? After that, the question is, if we can't get her to the mikveh early, are they allowed to give a hug and things like that? And there's been numerous articles written about that. We're not going to discuss that now, but we'll talk about the first question. And I think that part of it is understanding the background about Nida and Zava. So that's where the question picture in your mind, the woman is in Nida and she wants to know, can she get to the mikveh earlier? And the question is based on the laws of Nida and Zava. Nida is written 3 times in the Torah. It is all in Sefer Vayikra. Vayikra being the heart of the Torah, where we create a relationship with God. Okay? So Nida is in the first part of Vayikra, where it talks about life in the Mikdash. It's in the second part of the Vayikra, where it talks about the forbidden sexual relationships. We're not going to do the whole spin of this, but I'll tell you a little snippet. Had Nida only been in the Mikdash section and not in the Asur v'Mutar, the raising up of our sexual lives section, we wouldn't be following it today, right? Because we don't do anything based on Tum'ah v'Tahara. We really only follow things that are based on Asur, Mutar, Kedusha. We could talk about that. The problem is that when we talk about the laws of Nida in the second half of Vayikra, of what we do, it talks about you're not allowed to have sex with a woman in Nida, but it doesn't give any of the details of what that means, meaning 7 clean days, going to the mikvah, none of that. None of the details are there. So in order to understand fully the laws of Nida, we have to go back to where the most details apply, right? Where is it written in the fullest extent? And Nida is written in its fullest extent in Parak Tevav of Vayikra. So that's where I want to go to try to understand what are the details and how we follow Nida. Okay, so with that, I'm going to bring up for you Vayikra Parak Tevav. I'll even bring up, hold on. Okay. I share this with you. It's part of our Eden Center booklet, and I think Naomi can actually send it to you also. But if you look at, I just want to show you the psukim. Vayikra Parak Yudchat. It says, "Ve'elisha b'nidat tumata lo tikrav legalot ervata." A woman who's in nida, do not come close to revealing nakedness. But notice here, it just says, don't have sex with her. It doesn't say the 7 days, the mikveh, and everything of the sort. And same with the third one over here, source number 3. A man who sleeps with a woman who's bleeding and reveals the source of her blood, she reveals the source of her blood. They're both going to get karet. So the punishment is karet, but again, no details as to how to follow the law. So in order to fully understand it, we have to go back to Vayikra Parak Tevav. And here we have the details. We're just focusing on Nida Zava here. And it says here by Nida, it says, V'isha, ki tia zava, dam yazava bivsara, shivat yamim tia b'nidata, v'chol hanogea ba yitamer erev. This is a woman who is in Nida. The word lazuv means to flow. So the woman who's in Nida, how many days is she going to be in Nida? Do you see this? Shivat yamim, for a total of 7 days. Meaning, according to the Torah, Nida is just a total of 7 days. And therefore, the law is, don't touch her, you're going to become Tameh, etc., etc. But it doesn't say by Nida to count an additional 7 days. And it doesn't say by Nida to bring a Korban Chata, because being a Nida is not a sin. It's normal, it's natural. And the only law is that it's a total of 7 days. Right? That is the normal and natural. A woman's period should be at most a total of 7 days. But then we have something that's called zava, and zava is abnormal bleeding. V'isha ki azuv zov dama yamim rabi beloi nidata, o ki tazuv al nidata. Here is a woman who bleeds for yamim rabim, 3 days in a row. Yamim is 2, rabim adds on another one. So for 3 days in a row, below a nidata, a woman who bleeds abnormally, okita zuv al nidata, or if she bleeds in addition to her nida days, kol yemezov tumataki me nidata tiet me'ahi, she's going to be tme'ah. And let's look at her law. It says v'im tara mizova, when she becomes tahor from the flow, v'safra la shivat yamim, she has to count 7 clean days, v'acharti taher, and then she's going to become tahor. On the 8th day, she's going to have to take her pigeons or her turtle doves, and she brings them to the Kohen al Petachol Moed. She brings them as a korban. She brings one as a korban chata, one as a korban olah. And then she gets kapara for her sin. So if I was writing it out over here, I would say there's a woman who's a zava. No, sorry, first the nida, whoopsies. The woman who's in nida, and all she has to do is go to the mikvah. As opposed to the zava, she is the one who has to, according to the law, one thing I gotta move your faces down. She's the one who has to count 7 days, right? 7 clean days. Whoops, I press. No.
Why does that make her, why does she have to bring an offering?
An offering because there was something abnormal about it. Something
Yeah, but it may be, I mean, I don't know where it came from, but she didn't do anything wrong.
Says you, meaning you're saying that the woman in the zava didn't do anything wrong. How do you know that?
Well, let's say you just said abnormal bleeding. What if it was just abnormal bleeding?
So look at the difference. The woman who is a nida doesn't have to bring the sin offering. The woman who's a zava brings the sin offering. So getting your period is normal, natural, no sin offering. This is beautiful. Everything's working normally. Zava is actually abnormal bleeding.
Okay,
And
so I had a polyp and I had abnormal bleeding. That would mean I would have to bring a korban?
Well, if you knew it was from a polyp,
But I didn't.
you didn't. So let's say you did, then you wouldn't have to bring a korban.
But I didn't do anything wrong.
Again, so let's say it like this. If a woman has a skin disease, does that mean she did something wrong?
No.
Like you get a little bit of like, I don't know, like a little bit of leprosy, you know? Did you do anything wrong? She just had some kind of skin disease. However, we say in the Torah, someone who has leprosy, what did they do?
Lashon hara.
Beautiful. So they did something wrong. Now, does that mean that everyone who has leprosy today spoke Lashon hara? I'm not so
People
sure.
have leprosy today.
I'm just imagining, picture just the one that's so clear in the Torah that has like a punishment for it.
What about?
Work with me. What'd you say, Tina?
As I said, there's also a korban you have to bring after childbirth. So I don't, people grapple with that too, because that's not a sinful thing. And yet there's a chatat, so there's something going on there.
That one I can almost wrap my head around with, because people go a little cuckoo when they're having babies.
So Dalit, what you're saying, right? Tina's saying like people are grappling with the issue regarding korbanot chatat, sin offerings for a yoledet, and they try to think, what was her sin? What could she have done wrong? And Dalit is giving the interpretations that people have given. I can understand. She might have said something cuckoo, i.e. she might have cursed out her husband, swore that she was never going to have a baby, right? All the reasons that are given for why she might have to bring a sin offering. What I'm saying is that the Torah sometimes tells us to bring a sin offering. We, when we're learning it, don't always see the connection between sickness and sin. We don't. Today, I would never say that. Just because someone has a sickness does not mean that they sinned. Chas v'chalila, chas v'shalom. But in the eyes of the Torah, it was very clear the sin and the punishment. And what we're seeing here is that this abnormal bleed, I'm not talking about you and your polyp, but the abnormal bleeding was a sin offering. What I skipped over was the man's side. I skipped over that. And in the beginning of Parak Tevav, it talks about a zav and a shechvat zara. No, I'm going to focus. It's so hard to focus. It's not doing the whole thing. I tried. Fine, I'll have to bring it in. But the beginning, before we talk about a nida, was, I'll just show you too.
Can I ask you a question? What is a zav? I don't understand. It means a woman that only bleeds for 3 days?
Is a woman who bleeds abnormally for 3 days. Give me 1 second to finish this thought and I'll go back to Zav. So Zav, back in the day, was a man who saw an abnormal ejaculation, discharge coming out of his body. I wouldn't even say ejaculation. I would just say discharge. A man who saw a discharge coming out of his body, he had to wait 7 clean days. You can see in the psukim, he had to go to the mikvah and he had to bring his sin offering. Now, just so you can understand the zava, that the man who was the zav, people compare him to a guy who sees gonorrhea. Gonorrhea is a sexually transmitted infection. The word in Hebrew nowadays for gonorrhea is ziva, like literally taking from this. And basically, it's abnormal, not natural. Now, every guy who has gonorrhea sinned? No. But maybe, yes, we could totally think of an example of why he sinned. A guy who gets a sexually transmitted infection and what he might have been doing to get that. So in the same vein, not you with your polyp, Dalit, but in the same vein, a woman who doesn't bleed at the time of her cycle is someone who's sinning. There's something wrong. Now, I would never say that today because that's not the case, right? Someone who bleeds abnormally today doesn't sin. However, back in the day when everyone got their periods normally, and I'm talking like scheduled, like really scheduled, so then there wasn't abnormal bleeding. I forgot to tell you the number one other question I've been getting. Are you ready? The number one other question I've been getting during this time here in Israel has been, I'm bleeding abnormally. Literally, that's what I'm getting all the time because the pressure, the stress, the eating issues that are going on, the nauseousness, right? One of the things is that when we are very nervous, we feel it in our stomach, right? I was talking to some students today. Do you know when you like first heard about what was happening in Israel? Right? And a lot of people felt it in their stomach, which is crazy. It's like what's going on in the world and I'm feeling it in my body. And they got so nauseous that they couldn't eat anything, right? Literally, they couldn't eat anything. Or some people kept on eating. Like it really, like you mamish feel it in your stomach. And therefore, one of the things that we know is that our mind is very much connected to our body. So a woman who bleeds abnormally, sometimes it's connected to stress. And one of the things that we've seen has been a crazy change amongst all the Yotzot has been the amount of questions based on spotting has increased. We're actually trying to do a study based on it. Isn't that crazy? Like literally, war breaks out in Israel, and all of a sudden our numbers are increased for women who are bleeding mid-cycle. Come on, that's like a crazy connection. And therefore, one of the things that we're saying here is that bleeding abnormally, it's not normal. And it's a sign that something's off in the body. I would even say today, if a woman got her period twice a month, I'd be like, something's going on, man. Now, just having a polyp doesn't mean that you did something wrong, but I would say something's going on, let's go to the doctor. Right? If you randomly bleed in the middle of the month, and this has never happened before, I'd be like, let's go check this out. Let's see where the blood is coming from. So I think bleeding abnormally is a sign, right? Now, this is both a sign the pasuk says, and shechvatzar, by the way, was normal. That's normal ejaculate. And the guy there just went to the mikvah. The reason why I wanted to bring the men's side first is to show you the comparison that Zav and Zava are the same. They're both abnormal, not natural. And Shechvat Zera and Nida are normal and natural. Now, to answer Sari or Sari? Either, you'll tell me.
Sorry.
Sorry, okay. So
Yeah.
to answer Sari's question of how to differentiate between the two, right? If I now focus on Nida Zava, and I want to know the difference between the two. So Nida, the total of 7 days. We're going to make some charts over here, right? So, whoops, what happened? My mouse is not working as well as it should be. We're going to have to fix that. The talent is unbelievable. Look how fast I can write that. Oh, fine. Now I messed up. Okay. So Nida is a total of 7 days. What day did we do Nida? We did Nida in Greek. So if a woman bled for 4 days in the times of the Torah, she is in Nida for a total of 7 days. That means on the night of the 7th, she goes to the mikvah. Midoraita. Did everyone get that? This is Deoraita Nida. It's a total of 7 days. If you got your period for 6 days, do you know when you went to the mikvah? The night of the 7th. If you bled for 7 days, do you know when you went to the mikvah? The night of the 7th. If a woman then bled for 3 additional days to her period, she had a 10-day period, she's actually a zava. And that is abnormal. And by the way, doctors medically will tell you a 10-day period is abnormal, not natural, should not be happening. And literally, I had a student who had a 10-day period. She went to the doctor said something's up. No one should have a 10-day period. Up to 7 is normal. Afterwards, it's questionable. It's a very long bleed. Or if a person bled day 15, 16, and 17 randomly mid-cycle, she is a zava. And therefore, she has to count Shiva Nakim. Now, if she bled only 1 or 2 days mid-cycle, nothing happened. It's only if she bled 3 days in a row that she would have to wait an additional 7 days. So when people, and this issue has come up, right, for the woman whose husband came home, she's like, listen, according to the Torah, I'm only in Nida for a total of 7 days. Rabbinic law, you're adding in more days. Can I just go to the mikveh now and be with my husband, who I haven't met in 2.5 weeks, who's been serving in the army, and I don't know when I'm going to see him again? Like I should be able to give up and just follow Nida D'Oraita. This question comes up again with fertility issues, right? If a woman is ovulating before mikveh night, a lot of women ask, can I just do Nida D'Oraita? Right? It's just a total of 7 days. By the fact that we do more days today, I'm not able to get to the mikvah before I ovulate. I'm not giving you the answer to that, not doing it just yet, but just realize what the questions are, because there's a difference between D'Oraita Nida and D'Rabbanan Nida. So Nida D'Oraita, total of 7 days. Zava is abnormal bleeding, and that requires 7 clean days. I want to give you the short of it and not the long of it, but you'll tell me if this is enough for you. Women were confused between regular period blood and abnormal bleeding. They were very confused between it. And therefore, it was the women who took it upon themselves to always wait 7 clean days. So I'm going to show you a difference. The man, I'll give you an example, Shechvat Zera. We said sperm ejaculation makes a man tameh, right? That's how he had to go to the mikvah. Do you know that Ezra, do you know who Ezra is? Do you remember he rebuilt Beit Sheni? So Ezra came back to rebuild Beit Sheni. He made a couple of decrees. They're called Takanot Ezra. And he decreed that every single man should go to the mikvah every single morning. Do you know what the men said? Yeah, we're not doing that. Right? Do you know men that go to the mikvah every single morning? Okay, there are some Hasidic men who go to the mikvah every single morning. It's a Hasidic tradition. It's not everyone, right? But it's not most people. And because the men said, we're not going to do this. The Gemara uses it as an example of a takana that was as a law that was too much for the people, never became law. Because if the people said, we're not doing it, it doesn't become law. And this is as opposed to the women. Rabbi Zera says it was the women, Bino Yisrael, Hechmiru al atzman. We were machmir on ourselves that even if we saw blood the size of a mustard seed, Yoshevet al Shivanikim. Show you that line in the Gemara. Right here. Your faces are blocking it. It's all good. I moved your faces. We'll just go down to okay. I want to read you this one line over here where it says, Amar Rebbe Zera. Wait, where'd it go? Here we go. Amar Rebbe Zera, Bino Yisrael hechmiu al atzman. We, Bino Yisrael, took it upon ourselves. Sha'afilu ra'ot tipadam kechardal. That even if we see the tiniest bit of blood, the size of a mustard seed, Yoshevet al Shivanikim, we're always waiting 7 clean days. Women got confused with this system. They didn't know what was Nida and what was Zava. So the women took it upon themselves. The women took upon themselves to always wait 7 days.
Just a side question about the Zav. When he waits his Shavanakim, like, does he have restrictions as well with his wife?
Yeah.
Okay.
When it says, like, he had to count Shivanakim, he wasn't allowed to be in contact with his wife for 7 days.
Okay.
Right? So there were restrictions on him also.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, when you describe gonorrhea and you're like, this is a sexually transmitted infection, again, I'm putting an interpretation on the Torah. You're like, I don't want to spread this infection around Am Yisrael. Get out of my camp, 7 days, wait for it to be done. And when you're done, you can come back in. So I think it makes sense to describe it as gonorrhea. I don't have a good sexually transmitted infection to describe it for the women, although gonorrhea for women also involves abnormal bleeding. So again, I think it's a stretch, but maybe it could be that. And I think the whole point here is that Nida, normal bleeding, total of 7 days. Zava, abnormal bleeding, additional 7 days. And the women got confused and took it upon themselves to always wait 7 days. Now, when the women, all of them decided together, we're going to do this, it becomes law. Had the women said, we're not doing this, guess what? It never would have become law because we don't make a takana, a law on the people, unless they can hold by it. And the women were like, this was a great idea.
Sorry, I have a quick question. Sorry. What does that mean all the women came together and decided? Like how can we determine all the women's like, yes, we should do that? How does that come about?
We have no idea except for the statement. The statement here says, B'no Yisrael echmiru al atzman. And it became such a law that in the Gemara it is referred to as halacha psuka, halacha that is decided for all generations. So like it's forever and ever. How this came about, I don't know. But you could see, and I think it's a major principle of ours, that we're not just placing laws upon the people. Right? Everyone's like, those rabbis, they don't understand. They place no. This was us. And because it was the masses, it became law. Now, I might be like, hey, let's get rid of this law, because let's be real. Nida, like we all know when our period is today. We're not confused with abnormal bleeding. So let's just go back to Nida Zava. But because the women took it upon themselves, it's forever and ever. And that's why it is so hard to just give up on the Shiva Nikiyah. right? So for the woman who's ovulating before mikveh night, very, very, very rarely are we going to say just go to the mikveh in the middle of your Shiva Nikiyah. Like I think 1 in a bazillion cases, most of the time we actually could solve it by shortening the 4 or 5 days before counting the 7 days. And there are tricks to do that. I'll explain in a second. But for the most part, we're not saying go in the middle of the Shiva Nikiyah. And now with the army, right, with these women coming back, it is very, very hard to say go in the middle of the Shiva Nikiyah. I'll give you like maybe an example. I had a question from a woman who was traveling, whose husband, they were overseas. The husband flew back from Miluim. They were in the middle of fertility treatments. She had done all the shots. She's literally ready, waiting to go to the mikvah so that they could be together so that she could try to get pregnant. She's been trying to get pregnant for 2 years. So now she's starting the shots. Her body's ready. And they're like, you need to have sex on this day. She was about to have sex with him, but her mikveh night was, let's say, Wednesday night, and he flew on Tuesday night. Could she go to the mikveh in the middle of the Shiva Nikiyah? She already done all the shots. That is a question for the great authorities to answer, not me as little Yoetzet Halacha. And I'm sure the great authorities of those that are dealing with this case dealt with it in the proper manner, and maybe yes or no, hopefully to the yes, they allowed her to go to the mikveh early. I'm hoping. I don't know. Again, that is not public knowledge what exactly went on and when not. But now you can see how an extreme case that is. That is not for the masses of like, I miss my husband, or he's going into Oz, I don't know when he's coming back. Even that is extreme. And it depends on the spectrum of where you are within halacha. But there are like in the extreme, like my husband is going into Oz, except it has to be a lot of factors, like a lot of factors. So that's where, but otherwise, no. You can't give up on the Shiva. There's nothing you could do. And I literally had someone that I spoke to this week where she's like, can I just go in the middle of the Shiva Nikiyah? And we're like, really, you can't. So she tried instead to get her husband to get off next weekend. Right? They gave everyone off this weekend. She's like, I know this is crazy. And I have no idea if he actually is going to miss his time to get off. I have no idea. But he put in a request to get off next week instead of this week, and we'll see what happens. Bezrat Hashem. But like she was going to mikveh on Tuesday, and he was coming home on Friday. There was like nothing to like play around with. So maybe we'll see. So that is one idea. We don't give up on the Shiva Nikiyim so easily because it was the masses who took it upon themselves and solidified it as halacha. There are underground movements of people who are following Nija, Joe Raija, but that's not me to ask those questions. And one of the things I think as Balanit is that women, we don't ask too many questions. What day are you up to? When did you do this? When did you do that? I'm not asking. You're coming to the mikvah. Welcome to the mikvah, right? I'm not asking. Nomi would give an example of this where, I'll stop sharing because I see I'm delayed. Nomi gave an example of this, of a bride who went to get married, right? I don't know if you've seen these weddings taking place on bases, right? The weddings say, yeah, they're planned the day before. How do we know that the woman counted her Shiva Nikiyah? She was supposed to get married. She didn't get married. Then she had to recount. Like, how do we know that they're counting the Shiva Nikiyah the way that they're supposed to be counting the Shiva Nikiyah? And, I'm sure the rabbis ask whatever, as a Balanit, when we get these women coming to the mikvah, we say, welcome. Right? We don't like start, doing chakiras and try to understand, did you do the right thing or not do the right thing? Right? Once they're at the mikvah, we're just going to welcome and greet, unless they ask questions. Then we have to answer their questions, but we're not trying to understand if they properly did these things. Maybe there's some other lecturers that might have different opinions, but in my humble opinion, we don't ask questions. People come to the mikvah, welcome, we're so happy that you're here. Come, let's help you dip. Okay, so that is in terms of the Shiva Nikiyim. Any questions on that, on how the Shiva Nikiyim are solidified? So nowadays, we are all Zavot, because we always wait 7 clean days. We're not Nidot. We call it Nida, but we're really Zava. Questions or thoughts, or just time to drink water?
I know this isn't the focus, but the males are not the focus, but I was just curious because Doraita Shechvat Zara is you have to go to the mikvah, but that's not done. So is that just because it's a Tuma and Tahara thing that we don't observe now? It's not Isser V'Heter?
Beautiful. Yeah. So it's also, what does it mean to be Tameh? The reason why we don't follow it is that it means to be Tameh that you cannot go to the Mikdash. A man who was a Shechvat Zara, even at the time of the Mikdash, was allowed to have sex with his wife, and then a couple hours later have sex again. They were tamei after the first time because shechvat zara makes you tamei, and then they just had sex again. And it was only when they wanted to go up to the mikdash that they had a dip in the mikvah. So that's why in Elazar, I'm from Gush Etzion, I don't think I even mentioned that, but in Elazar, right outside, there's an ancient mikvah at the first place where you could see Jerusalem. Because they're like, reminder, you're going up to the mikdash, don't forget to dip as you go up. And there was a group of people on Motzei Sukkot. It's so crazy to even think about this. But on Motzei Sukkot, there was a group of people from a yeshuv called Gvaot who walked from Gvaot up to Har HaBayit. I'm not joking. Literally up to Har HaBayit, and they dipped on the way. Come on, that is so cool. And they dipped on the way, and they went to Har HaBayit. So that's exactly the ancient tradition of Aliyah L'Regel, as going up to visit God on the 3 Shalosh Regalim. And literally, as soon as you saw Jerusalem, you started to think about, okay, I need to be pure. But otherwise, you were allowed to have sex when you were impure. We're all impure. A woman would go to the mikveh, have sex with her husband, she'd become impure right away. And nothing happened because she wasn't going up to the mikdash. Okay. Other questions? So if I would ask you why we keep the 7 clean days, you would answer? Because the women,
Israel.
yeah, beautiful. The women took it upon themselves to always wait Shiva Nikiyim like the Zavot, because they got confused between Nida and Zava. That's my answer, and it became Alacha Psuka, so it's very hard to get rid of. We're gonna do it eventually. We're gonna get a Beitin, greater in number and in wisdom, and that's gonna be the first law to go, along with the 2-day Chag in Chutz La'aretz for those of you that are still there. But yes, although maybe we should just keep it as a reminder that you should make Aliyah, but is that too much Zionism right now? Okay. With that being said,
Matter question.
Yes.
Sorry, you're saying that you're just saying that even if a guy and a woman are together, even after she goes to the mikvah, as soon as they're together, automatically she becomes impure again, right?
Yes.
So what's the point of her going to the mikvah?
To remove the
mikvah
nida
to purify
status.
her.
And remove the nida status. I'll show you the pasuk. That pasuk says, it was the pasuk right before Shechvat Zara. When a woman sleeps with a man, she becomes tamei. We know this.
All the time.
All the time. So you go to the mikvah to rid your nida status, not to rid the impurity status. Fine, I'll show it to you based on the pasuk. I have to. The pasuk says, this one pasuk over here. We already went past it. Okay, fine. Wait, hold on. I have to go back up. What was it on like page 5 or something? Oh, here. That pasuk was over here. Look at the shechvat zara. V'isha asher shkav ishota shechvat zara. The woman who sleeps with the man is a shechvat zara. V'rachatzu b'mayim b'tamu ad erev. They have to go to the mikveh and they're tamei until the nighttime. So you can see back then they were also tamei, right? They were tamei.
That's just for purposes of going to the up to the Beit HaMikdash. Nothing to do with.
Nothing to do with sex, right? Everything to do with the Beit HaMikdash, which is why, if you think about it in today's times, if you're going up to Har HaBayit, you're not allowed to have sex right before you go up to Har HaBayit, or you have to go to the mikvah. Or, because you guys are all practicing women already, you know, or you have to wait for the zera, for the shechvat zera to come out of your body, for the sperm to come out of your body. Right? So let's say you had sex 3 days before going up to Har HaBayit, you had to make sure it was 3 days, although we could talk about cleaning out and whatever. But anyway, so does that make sense? I'll tell you what I just said. Sorry, I made it confusing. Let's just say that when a woman sleeps with a man, she becomes tamei, but we are all tamei. If you step on a dead lizard when you come out of the mikveh, you become tamei. It's one of the Shmona Shratzim. Okay, we're all tamei. It was
Wait a minute. So then what's the point of a woman by the time she leaves the mikvah? There's people have it's like a minhag. You're supposed to shake the balanit's hand or only look at her the first so you know you don't become tamei before you're actually with your husband. So what's the point of that?
But what happens if the mikveh lady is tamei? What happens if she has her period?
I don't know. Well, some people also what they do is what?
That's why I don't understand that custom. Some people, by the way, don't like to shake. Some people also don't like that shaking of the mikveh lady's hand thing. So we have to be careful about that, right? Some people love it. What would you say?
No, but I'm saying is that if you're saying what you're saying, that we're all tamei anyway. So then, what is the point of being so makpid that we only see something that's like not a cat like flying on the street before we go back home and things like that?
I think that there were customs that were talked about regarding that, but I think that it is difficult to understand that because literally, if the mikveh lady has her period, you're touching her and she is tameh, and now you are tameh.
But we're also tameh, as you're saying.
Yeah,
We're all tameh, no matter if we go to the mikveh or not.
Yeah.
So then, what's the difference then?
Because you're taking off your nija status. You
Yeah, but
can't
I'm
have
saying
sex
like you're
with
saying like the what?
going to the mikveh is to take away your nija status.
It's not to take away our tuma.
But why is it physically dipping in a mikveh to take away Anita's status? Why that? Why not something else?
Because that's what God decreed. That's what it says in the pasuk. It's actually Torah Shabbat Peh, it's not in the pasuk, but by the man, it's in the pasuk, right? That you have to purify yourself in water. That's what God decreed to take away nida status. But today we are all tameh, and back then you would become tameh very soon after going to the mikvah, and then you were just tameh. Tuma is about not being able to go to the mikdash. The word tameh only works with the word mikdash, because without it, we don't have that understanding. Okay. Some people don't like this concept because it takes away this purification that happens in the mikvah. I get a lot of people who argue with me about it, but it's the way that we understand the Torah, right? But some people like this idea of going to the mikvah to purify, cleanse, start again. That's all still a part of it, even if we come back and we are tameh in a certain aspect. We have rid the nida status, so that's a different element. Okay, things to grapple with. Let's talk about why we wait 4 or 5 days before starting the 7 clean days. So I'm going to share my screen again and just point that out. Again, this is a minimum of background just to give to you to just understand. Hold on, I got to move your faces. It's not letting me move it. There we go. Okay. So basically, before counting the 7 clean days, the Sfaradim have a custom of waiting a minimum of 4 days of bleeding, plus 7 clean days. That's a custom of the Sfaradim. The Ashkenazim wait a minimum of 5 days of bleeding, plus 7 clean days. We have now explained where the 7 days come from. They're now about to explain the 4 or 5 days. Why does the minimum have to be there? And basically, this has nothing to do, right? This has nothing to do with periods and everything to do with sex. Let me explain. Okay. So this is an example that in the times of the Mikdash, let's say a woman got her period, to be very exact, 11 o'clock at night. And she, let's say, got her period for 2 days. Okay, so she had her period on Sunday and Monday. Okay. And now I know most people don't have a 2-day period, but let's pretend. And now she wants to count Tuesday as day 1 of the 7 clean days. Why does she have to wait any more days before starting? Right? She should already be able to start Tuesday as day 1. So are you ready for this? The question was asked in the Gemara, what happens if a woman, before she gets her period, had sex? Okay? So over here, we're going to be very exact about it. She had sex at 9 o'clock at night. Okay, she had sex at 9 o'clock at night. And we know what goes up must come down. When the woman has sex, the sperm goes inside the woman's body, the semen goes inside the woman's body, and then it comes back down. And we learned, do you remember, that Shechvat Zera was Tameh, makes you Tameh. So the Gemara is wondering, can you count a day as Naki, as clean, if there's something Tameh coming out of your body? Right? Are you allowed to count it as clean if there's something Tameh? And the Gemara says, no, you can't count a day as Naki if there's something Tameh coming out of your body. So on Tuesday, there's no blood, but it's possible that something Tameh is coming out of your body. What is that? The semen. Because there was a 5-way machloket in the Gemara as to how long the semen lives inside her body. We paskin that it lives inside her body for 72 hours. 72 hours, if you do the math, is literally 3 days. So why 4 days? Watch this. If a woman had sex over here at 9 o'clock at night, between 9 o'clock at night on Motzei Shabbat and 9 o'clock Sunday is 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. That means only on Tuesday at 9 o'clock at night could she start counting her Shiva Nikiyah. So far, Tuesday counted as day 1 of the 7 because there's semen coming out of her body. Can she count Wednesday as day 1? Nope, she can't count Wednesday. Why? Because Tuesday, let's say it was like today, where sunset was at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Between 5 o'clock and 9 o'clock for 4 hours, there's still semen coming out of her body. So she cannot count Wednesday as a clean day. They have to be whole and complete days. So only Thursday becomes day 1 of the 7. And that is how Spartan 4 days. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Even though the bleeding stopped on Monday, she has to add in an additional 2 days to wait for the semen to leave her body. Crazy. Now, the reason why this doesn't come up practically is, let's be real, how often do people have a 2-day period? Never. We didn't do that in the survey questions. I think that'll be a little bit too personal. No, but most people are not having a 2-day period. No, not happening. 3-day maybe, but not a 2-day period. And therefore, the question rarely comes up because 3 days, let's explain, right? 3 days is really 4 days. Now, let me explain something different. Wait, so we just explained so far how 3 days can actually be 4 days. Did that make sense? Can't see all your faces.
Why are we only conflating here Tuma with period? Because with normal bleeding and with nida, because if the reason that you are counting is based on nida and removing the nida status and not on tuma, why are we now adding in this element of tuma and only here?
Spot on. That's like the perfect question, right? It doesn't make any sense. Are you ready for this? The laws of how to count 7 clean days came from the times of the Mikdash. And the law was instituted in the Mikdash that if you are Tameh, you can't count a day as clean. So while we don't follow Tuma and Tara, that law that related to Tuma and Tara still follows. The same way that it's customary for or in order to be a problematic ketem stain, it has to be on something that is Mikabel Tuma. We don't do anything that's Mikabel Tuma today. Why do we have that law? Oh, because it was instituted at the time that we do follow Tuma and Tahara. So here's another example where no, we shouldn't be following this. We don't care that the woman is Tameh. The law was instituted at the time of the Mikdash that you cannot count your days Naki if there's something Tameh coming out of your body. So that would mean, ready for this one? If a woman does an IUI, do you know what an IUI is? For fertility purposes? Right? Fertility purposes, some people have difficulties getting pregnant. They're like, let's take the best of the sperm, centrifuge it, and inject it inside the woman. And sometimes you have to inject it on the right day when the woman is ovulating. What happens if they inject it inside of her during her 7 clean days? Does she have to skip that day's Naki? Could she count that as a clean day? Isn't that crazy? Or, right, that question does come up. Or, here's even crazier. What happens if a couple was really trying to keep the Shiva Nikiyam and they messed up and they didn't and they had sex during the Shiva Nikiyam? Chas v'chalila, chas v'shalom. Is she allowed to count that day as Naki? She's like, I want to do better. Can I count the day that I had sex as one of my Naki days? The answer is no. You have to wait another day. Now, the question would be, do you have to wait another 3 days? Right? Because it lives inside your body for 3-4 days. So imagine telling that. We have to now understand a different law based on this. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. So basically, we have to wait 4 days until the semen leaves her body. Now I want to explain the difference between Sephardim and Ashkenaz so you can understand this law more. And this is why it's important, right? Some Sephardim have different laws than Ashkenazim. And sometimes, by the way, in the Mikvaot in Israel, we're well aware of that. excuse me, sometimes in the mikvaot in America, they're not aware of all of the Sephardi Ashkenaz divide, depending on where you're from, right? Panina says she's from Brooklyn. So I'm imagining in Brooklyn and Chutz La'aretz, they'll know the Sephardic Ashkenaz divide there, depending on the population. But certainly not like in Teaneck, New Jersey, they're not always up and aware of Sephardic and Ashkenaz and when everyone is dipping before Shabbat and not. Maybe Teaneck is better. I don't know. Anyway, I'm from Teaneck, so I get to make fun of Teaneck. Okay, with that being said, so let's explain the Sephardic and Ashkenaz. It wasn't making fun, it was just explaining. I didn't mean to make fun, mock anyone where they're from. Based on what we just learned, that means according to Sephardim, they wait 4 days. Do you know when they start counting those 4 days? Should they start counting those 4 days from when she gets her period or from when she has sex? If you think period, go like this. If you think sex, go like this. That she's counting from period or sex. Look at the machloket amongst our people. It's not fun. What makes half of you are Ashke, half of you are Sephardi? Now, what makes logical sense? The whole reason why she's waiting the 4 days is because of semen. So therefore, we should count it from when the semen went inside of her. And that's in fact the way that Sephardi paskin. They are counting those 4 days from last sex. Those who said she's counting from the period, Ashkenazim, they are thinking like Ashkenazim, who counted from period. It's not just the period, it's actually from the last time that you were Ameh. So if in the middle of your 7 clean days, you had to recount, you don't need to recount the 5. Right? It's from the last Asur. You don't need to recount the 5 if you were already prohibited. Okay. According to this, you think if she didn't have sex, her husband was in Miluim for the past 2.5 weeks, he wasn't at home, he didn't have sex at all, she has a 2-day period, does she still have to wait the 4 days? If you think she still has to wait, thumbs up. If you think she doesn't have to wait, thumbs down. Already the machloket. Love it again. The Sephardim say if she doesn't have sex, she doesn't have to wait. Not right away. The only reason why we're waiting is because she had sex. And therefore, if he wasn't home for 2.5 weeks and you have a 2-day period, start counting right away. Those who said that she still has to wait is because they're thinking like the Ashkenazim. And the Ashkenazim follow the Chumrah of the Truman Adeshan, which is an Ashkenazic Rishon in the 14th century, who said that we are going to equate all women, whether you had sex or didn't have sex, they always have to wait those days, because otherwise it gets too confusing. For Ashkenazim, it's so easy. Get your period, wait your days. For the Sephardim, you're like, shoot, when was the last time I had sex? Okay, did I have sex? Did I not? 4 days, so confusing, right? But for Ashkes, it's one count. So when I say for Sephardim, that's 4 days, it's not really 4 days. It could be shorter. Now, Ashkenazim wait the Chumrah of the Truman Adeshan. They wait 5 days. You ready for this one? It's a crazy one. I still don't understand this. If you can understand this, that is awesome. He says, what happens if at 9 o'clock at night was between sunset and when the stars come out? It's between what we call twilight, ben hashmashot. And she thinks that it's day. And really it's night. And therefore, to get out of all safek, all doubt, we're like, just add on 1 more day. What? That makes no more sense. Like what? They're gonna have sex, ben hashmashot, and she's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, today is Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, but really it should be Sunday, Monday." That's crazy. Who's having sex, ben hashmashot? From this one doubt, we add on an extra day. My theory is that because most Sephardic, because most women had an average of a 5-day period, the Ashkenazim are like, whatever, 5 days. That's my humble opinion on it. Nowadays, though, by the way, with all the birth control pills and the hormonal IUDs and women's periods have gotten shorter and shorter for some people. Therefore, I do know people who have a 3 or 4 day period. And if they're Sephardi, amazing, perfect, wonderful. If they're Ashki, they still have to wait the 5 days, even though they're not bleeding for a couple of days, which is really annoying. Are you ready for one last crazy chumrah? Not chumrah, pula. Which is the following. For Sephardim, they can actually clean out the semen. Shulchan Aruch writes it, take a cloth, wipe internally, clean out all the semen. And the Ashkenazim are like, we don't know how to do that. And therefore you can't clean out the semen.
Can I just say that Ashkenazim just suck the joy out of everything? We Ashkenazim,
Well, either that, yes, or I think that for Ashkenazim, it's actually, can I tell you another law that I love to teach to, especially when I teach brides, lighting candles, right? Well, first of all, I don't even know my population here. Who is Ashki? Who's Sephardi? Let's ask the Sephardi. Who's Sephardi in the room? Nothing, not a single Sephardi. Am I missing the bottom of my page and I can't see anyone? No one is Sephardi. Did anyone marry a Sephardi? Oh yeah, what an Ashki program. Okay, sort of. Okay.
Used to be Sephardi before I married an Ashkenazi.
Okay,
So all
that's
the
a good
laws
one.
that I learned about it were Ashkenazi.
Man, this is a good one for you Ashkenazic Jews. We just celebrated the holiday of Sukkot. Let's first start with Shabbat. How do you Ashkenazic Jews light the candles for Shabbat? Light the candles, cover your eyes, say the bracha, voila, it's Shabbat, right? How did you light the candles for Sukkot? Did you do it in the same way?
No.
If you lit the candles in the same way, thumbs up. If you changed it and did it different ways, thumbs down. Love it. You guys are showing the machloket. Sfardim, don't worry, see, I make everyone right in every case because you're all right. Sfardim, when they light candles before Shabbat, according to the Shulchan Aruch, according to Rav Avadia, they light the match, say the bracha, light the candles, and drop the match. Sfardim, some reason, cover their eyes and do this thing, but they don't have to because they hold the candle, light the candles, drop the match. In Israel, where we have stone floors. In America, where you got wooden floors, South Africa, don't do that, right? Only if you have stone floors. Otherwise, just put it into a safe place to dispose of. On Yom Tov, we Ashkenazim are supposed to light like the Sephardim. We are, I'm serious. We're supposed to take the match, say the bracha, light the candles, drop the match. That's what we're supposed to do. The Magen Avram comes along and says, we Ashkenazim don't do that. Do you know why? You're going to love this one. Ein chachma leisha. There's no wisdom to a woman. She's not going to be able to differentiate, right? Women can't think so much to be like, Shabbos candles one way, Yantiv candles another way. It's too confusing. Let's get one law across the board so that everyone could do it. And therefore, it became law that everyone does it. And therefore, you see in this room right now, the Zoom room, that half of us are like, Magen Avram, come on, I have some chachma, I can differentiate. And some of us are like, man, I just do like my mother, and that's what she did. And therefore, I continue to do that tradition. I'll just say one last thing on this, and I'll go back. The Drisha, which is also the Prisha, it's his name, he wrote a commentary to the tour and the Shulchan Aruch tour. And when he was writing his commentary, the introduction to his commentary praised his mother, which is crazy. He's a commentary in Poland, I think in the 16th century, I could be off, but he's praising his mother. And he says his mother's the smartest woman in the world. And when the men came over, he would give Divrei Torah, she would give Divrei Torah and challenge the men. You got to read the introduction, it's awesome. But she says 2 laws that she teaches women. And one of those laws is that we need to differentiate between Shabbos candles and Yom Tov candles. I'm leaving it as such. If you ever want to look more into it, I'd be happy to go more into it. But I think the concept makes sense that it's so much easier to give one law across the board than to be like, count only if, It's too hard. Get your period, count 5 days. Get your period, count 4 days. All these nuances for a lot of women is too difficult. Now, we as learned women can understand that. And when is it important to understand is in a case of need. Let's go back to, and tell me if you want sources for this. I'll read it in the Shulchan Aruch, I'll give you the sources. Okay, so I'll go back to that in a second. But I'll tell you, in a case of need, are you ready for this? In the case of need, for the woman who knows in advance, this is what I've been telling all women who call me up earlier when their husbands are in the army. Your husband is going to come home soon. Get your Hefsek Tara as clean as soon as possible. If you're Ashki, wait Sephardi. Wait Sephardi. Do your 4 days because, even if at the end of the day, you don't go on day 12 and you go on, you don't go on day 11 and you go on day 12, at least you have that option. We don't know when he's coming home. You know what I'm saying? Do your Hefsek Tara as soon as possible because if the woman said to me, listen, my husband is coming home tomorrow night right? But, I did my hefsek Tara one day earlier just in case, even though my mikveh night should really be on the 12th day, I did a hefsek Tara, so perhaps I can go on the 11th day. We're going to let her go to the mikveh. That is so much easier to play around with the 4 or 5 days than it is with the 7 days. And that has worked. And with fertility issues, I teach women in advance. And I say to them, do your hefsek Tara as early as possible if you're going to miss if you're ovulating before mikveh night. Right? Do it on day 3, on day 4, as early as possible. And there are ways of playing around with the Shiva Nikim also, so that we can get you to the mikveh as early as possible. It's much more difficult to play around with the Shiva Nikim than it is to play around with the 4 or 5 days. So while us Ashkis always wait our 5 days, there are extenuating circumstances where we're going to wait the less than 5 days, 4 days, or perhaps even 3 days. 2 days, I've never had a woman who got 2 days, and then stopped bleeding, but 4 days for sure. And it does work for brides after they get married. If they marry a Sephardic man, they could take a cloth, right? Let's say they go into Nida based on Dam Betulim. So if you ever see a Kala in your mikvah a week after she gets married, don't be shocked, right? Because she could take a cloth, wipe internally, clean out the sperm, and then go to the mikvah a week later. She doesn't, let's say she's not planning on getting her period. She doesn't have to wait another 12 days or 11 days. She literally takes a cloth, wipes internally. And there are poskim who say that an Ashkenazic woman can wait like a Sephardic woman after getting married because it's a kula and they just got married and. So just realize that there are brides that will go to the mikvah a week after they get married, which makes a lot of sense if they're not going to get their period. Yes.
Can I ask a question about the cleaning out that Sephardim do? Is something that I never understood, and if I could get like a little graphic here. It seems to me clearing out internally, like in the sense of how you do a bedika, or some people, I also heard a Sephardi teacher one time talk about like soaking in a bathtub. It seems to me that like the semen is often residing further up, like meaning, so you could do the clear out and then on the way to the mikvah, you could just feel something come out. And like, so I never understood that.
So it's based on their understanding. They understood that the semen was inside their body for 3 days. They weren't thinking about the semen that went inside, up, etc., etc. Oh, no, sorry, I would say it like this. Their understanding is that you could clean it all out. They weren't thinking about the semen that went into the uterus and the fallopian tubes. So therefore, you could say the only semen that they were concerned with was the one that was residing in her uterus, not a uterus, in her vagina that she could clean out.
Okay.
I said uterus instead of vagina. The only thing that they were concerned about was the semen that was inside the vagina. And therefore they gave you that way of cleaning it out. The other way is like, it was good for them. That was their understanding. Just because we have more of an understanding does not mean we have to be stricter.
Got it. Okay.
And that's why the Sephardic postgame, Rav Avadia writes it in his book, that you could clear it out. So who are we as Ashkenazic Jews to be like, no, you can't do that. No, it's in Rav Avadia's book that you could clear it out. And I'll show you, even not just Rav Avadia's book, I'll show you the Shulchan Aruch on this. So let's read it. We'll get a little bit of sources here. I'm going to read you the Shulchan Aruch source on this. But there was another question before I read the source. Someone was raising their hand. Oh, Romy. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, but it's a little different than this. So should I wait or?
Okay, so let's do this. So first of all, this is the Chomer of the Truma Adesha, and so I just brought the Sheila and Shiva. That's not what I want to do right now. I want to read the Shulchan Aruch on this. Hapoletet shechvat zera b'yamei sfirata. Someone whose body spits forth shechvat zera, like to give out the semen in the middle of her sfira. Now, I use the word semen and sperm interchangeably. They didn't see sperm. Sperm can't be seen unless you see it underneath a microscope. So they only understood semen. So I'm just going to use the word semen. Imu toch vav, and that could also be the difference. Imu vav toch vav onot l'shimusha. If it's within 6 onot, in Ona, as you all know from practicing women of visatot, vestos, is that you only have to wait 12 hours for an anticipated menses. An anticipated menstrual cycle, you have to wait 12 hours. It's an Ona. So if it's within 6 times 12, lishimusha, for when she had sex. So teredoto yom, it uproots that day. Lefichach. Hamishamesh mitata, someone who had sex. V'rata charkach v'paskat, she saw bleeding, and then afterwards the blood stopped. Eina matzcha lispor shiva nikim ad she'avru alav vav onot shleimot shematiful. You have to wait for 72 hours to pass. Lefichach eina matzcha lispor ad yom hey l'shimushta. She could only start counting on the 5th day from when she had sex. Kigon, im shimshav motzei Shabbat. It's our example. She had sex on Motzei Shabbat. Eina matzcha lispor ad yom hey. She only could count Thursday as day 1. Jekaim alam, we go according to Ein Shechva Zera Masriach. It doesn't go bad until 72 hours pass by. So you're seeing the point there. And then it says here, there are those who write that you have to wait another day. You can only start counting Friday as day 1. And that will be the first of the 7 days. We're nervous that you're going to have sex and you think that it's day, but really it's night. If you start counting on the 5th day, it's going to be within those sheish ono l'shimusha. Always add on another day, because then you won't make a mistake. Trumat Hadashan. This is what they practice in all those countries. Don't change it. And then it says over here, there are those that don't differentiate between whether you had sex with your husband or didn't have sex with your husband. Any woman who even sees just a stain, you have to wait 5 days with the day that you saw, and then you do a hafsek tara. Now look at this one. A woman who had sex, saw blood, afterwards the blood stopped. She wants to start counting the next day as day 1. Wipe out internally, otomakom, which is the vagina, bimoch with a cloth, or bebeged with with a garment, lafli kol zera, to get out all the zera, or tirchatz b'mayim chamim, wash with warm water, ve'miaflitu kol zera. And we paskin for Sfardim that you need both, the harchatzah with warm water and the cloth to wipe it out. And the Rama says, we don't know the difference with this, and therefore we should not rely on this. And that's why the Ashkenazim in normative cases do not rely on that. So normative cases, regular cases, Ashkis are going to wait 5 days, Sephardim are going to wait 4, unless she has a shorter period or didn't have sex, etc., etc. I do want to point out that most Ashkenazim that marry Sephardim, most Sephardim that marry Ashkenazim take an Ashkenazic practice, because back in the day you moved to the country of your origin, of the husband's, like where the husband came from, and he took on his practice. There are people in Israel where the Sephardic woman marries an Ashkenazic man, and in this law they do Sephardic law because, says Rav Malamed, it's the true practice. Everyone tries to understand the Rabbah to understand why we're adding on so many extra days. So I think that's interesting that there are some Ashkis who marry Sfardis who marry Ashkis who actually do Sephardic law. That was a mouthful. Now, Romy, go for it.
Sorry if I've missed something. It's been a lot of information, but you were saying in the beginning that Nida Doraita was 7 days, and that there was not really any question on that. No matter how long somebody bled for, you waited the 7 days. And then you were explaining that the Shiva Nekim were added on that the woman added that on. So I'm just confused as to why the Shiva Nekim are now like immovable, and suddenly the first 7 days we're able to play around with that. We could say 4 or 5 when Doraita, that was the original 7, full stop.
Okay, so the first thing when we say that Nida Doraita was a full 7 days, including now these 7 clean days. Meaning you're allowed, if Nida Doraita is just 7 days, you can include days that you count as Shiva Nekiyam. So when we play around with the bleeding days. the 4 or 5, but we're not taking away. Of course, we've covered those 7 days from nida d'oraita, no matter what. As long as you have 7 days total, and those original 7 days had bleeding days and days that she didn't bleed, it didn't matter. It was just 7
Okay.
days.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask
Other
one more
thoughts?
question?
Yeah, Penina, go for it.
So from a Sephardic practice perspective, not asking for paskening for different methods of contraception, I know that's a separate question, but if someone were to have sex with a condom or a diaphragm or something else, would she be able to just count the 7 because there is no semen?
I would say with the condom, yes, but not with the diaphragm, because the diaphragm goes into the vagina, but the condom doesn't, right? And therefore the semen isn't going in there, so there's no plitat shechvatzara. So I would imagine that that would be helpful. Yeah, not getting into the contraception, but there are rare cases where women do use condom or men use condoms when they're having sex with their wives. So there are cases that are out there, not massively like it really are specific cases, but that's a great question. But because the diaphragm, the semen goes in, so then it spreads and then you would have to clean it out. Okay. Other thoughts or questions? These questions are
Yeah, I
not
have a
going to come
question
up. Yeah,
actually.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
No, you go.
No, yeah, I was wondering something like you were saying that it's like if a person is with their husband and they have to wait to 3 days, if they're starting to bleed, it doesn't just clean you out all the bleeding. So what do you need to wait the 4 days and the 5 days?
So they say no, it
Why can
wouldn't.
we not
Let's say
just
you
wait 3
bled.
days?
Let's say you bled for 2 days and you had sex right before. The theory was that it doesn't clean out all the semen.
The
I know
water
that's
does
weird.
as it is weird because the water does.
I know, and
According to
then we have
Spartans.
Becky's question. If it was further up, how would we be able to clean it out anyway? But that was the theory.
It's very interesting.
And
I
that's
don't
why
know.
first of all, if you ever want to go up to Har HaBayit, right? There are women who go up to Har HaBayit. Either you're not allowed to have sex for 3 days before, 4 days before, really, or you can actually, and I asked someone who goes up to Har HaBayit a lot, he said that you could clean yourself out for that purpose. For going up to Har HaBayit, you can have sex the night before, clean yourself out, and then go to the mikvah. But that law applies to Har HaBayit, which is why some of the controversy is that you can't go up to Har HaBayit as a married woman because then you're declaring when you had sex, didn't have sex, but you can clean yourself out, so it doesn't make a difference.
So what happens with the Kala?
With
the Kala, why does she have to wait 5 and 7 before she gets married? She didn't do anything.
The Kala doesn't have to wait the 5 days before she gets married. She just has to wait Shiva Nikiyah. Right? She doesn't have to.
Oh,
You don't need, if a woman is like the women who just got married, they don't need to wait 5 plus 7. We just need 7 clean days. And that's because
the women that just got married, they have to wait 3 days.
What?
No, I thought it was 3 days and then 7 days.
No, if a woman is not yet, if she hasn't gotten married and she's not sexually active before she gets married. If she's sexually active before she gets married.
No, I'm talking about after.
Oh, after. Sorry, Kala before. A Kala afterwards can clean out the semen and count 7 days.
Ashkenaz and also you're saying Sephardi.
The Ashkenaz is based on the Kula that Rav Kinol spoke about in his book, The Marriage Covenant. And he said, because nowadays it's so difficult with everything that's going on, and therefore even an Ashkenazic woman can clean herself out and count 7 days. Many times women schedule their periods to come soon after the wedding anyways. But if like great aunt Susan is buying you a cruise, to England when you're and it's a week after you get married, you're going to clean yourself out and plan your period around that, because how often does great aunt Susan do that?
Okay, I get it.
Wait, so if a Kala is not sexually active before she gets married and she has a 2-day period, she can go to the mikvah right when that ends without clearing herself out, basically.
Right, she just has to count Shiva Nikiyah before.
Right, exactly. Okay.
Yeah, but and that's what helps us. Like these women that are getting married now, on base right away. We're like, shoot, man, you got to count 7 days. She's like, okay, I haven't had my period in like 2 weeks. Okay, fine, quick, count the 7 days, if that even is possible. I really don't want to ask. Someone showed me a bunch of pictures of people who got married, and they really like, how do they spontaneously get married? Unless it was planned. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it.
Why? It's a chuppah nida.
Yeah, but usually in Israel, they're really very strict about chuppah nida. especially for chilonim, especially for non-religious women.
I
It's
see
a
what you
whole
mean.
debate here. You guys mostly are working in Israel. This is one of our debates. A woman who goes to the mikvah as a kalab, as her first time at the mikvah, she needs a note from you that she dipped. Does she really need that note? Who's looking at that note? It's in her file in her teak. And there's that whole debate. I'm not getting into it, but it's a really big debate, right? Because let's say the woman is like, I don't know, if she was a chupanita, what? She doesn't get that note. Then what happens?
Right.
Or let's say she wants to dip in the sea and she doesn't want to go to the mikvah. What happens? So there's a whole debate there with some, it's like a massive discussion that goes on nowadays. We're going to try to make the mikvah friendlier places so that the woman will feel comfortable going to the mikvah before she gets married, so that she'll want to, and then we don't have to worry about that. But also, a kala does not have to bring you a note from the kala teacher that you did everything correctly. According to the law of Israel, she doesn't have to do that. But for some reason, the mikvah ladies in Israel asked for it. But the Rabbanut in Efrat looked it up, right? Because we did this course once at Efrat, and the head lady there looked up the law, and she said, you don't have to have the Kala teacher write a note. Can you imagine? The Kala teacher has to write a note and says, this woman did everything that she needed to. This woman's about to get married. I hope she's going to be an independent woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, why does she need a note? And if she's lying, she's lying. You know what I'm saying? Like a little bit of a trust policy that goes on here. And if she's not doing it right, it's upon her, it's not upon us. But anyway, those are my personal opinions. And according to the law, you don't need them. Okay. Any other questions? Again, we're not asking, what day did you do your hefsek Tara? I mean, there are signs and, people should know, but we're not asking, are you doing Nidot right, Nidot wrong? But we're not asking those questions. But I do want you to know that there are some women who are going after 11 days and some women who are going after 12 days and some women going through fertility issues who have counted differently. And then based on this idea of some men getting out of the army early, we, for the most part, can play around with 4 or 5 days in very, 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 very rare situations with asking specific questions. Some rabbinic authorities might allow the person to go to the mikveh during the 7 clean days. Very rare, though. I think you got that point from me repeating that 20 times. Okay, so with that being said, let's go a little bit into spotting and staining. So that's the background. I want to talk about the ways that a woman becomes a nidah. And this is just tidbits, like the best of your best hits, right? There are 6 ways that a woman becomes a nidah. I want to talk about the top 2 ways. If I surveyed 100 women and I asked them, what is the number 1 way a woman becomes a nidah? They would say, based on her period. Ding, ding, ding. You have now all won Family Feud for those Americans who know what that is. I know we left out the South Africans. You guys don't know. England, I don't know, Venezuela. Did you have Family Feud? The number 2 way that a woman becomes a nidah is spotting. And while this should never be a question for a Balanit, because hopefully you're not spotting in the mikvah, Balaniyot always get this question. And therefore, I think it's important to be informed about the difference between bleeding and spotting. So it is one of the things that we went through, and then we wanted me to do that today also, and to finish up with this. 1 second. She did want me to go through all this. Okay, we'll see. Hopefully. Here we go. Tamim, she didn't let me do it. So we'll do a little bit. I created a flow chart in order to understand this. Okay. A practical, useful flow chart. And basically, right, so we have to understand what a halachic period is. Okay. So a halachic period. Just get to a clean page. Where's my page here? Oh, there we go. New page. And basically, we have a woman who sees blood. I'm trying to go too fast for the computer, sorry. Second, a woman sees blood and she wants to know if she needs it. This could happen in the mikvah. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm bleeding. What do I do? So the very first question that we ask a woman with blood is the color of the blood. In order to be a nida, according to the Torah, into the Mishnah, there are 4 shades of red and black. The red of pottery, the red of meat, the red of earth, and the red of turmeric. I know turmeric is yellowish, but okay, it's actually orangish. And therefore, it's those specific shades. If they weren't those shades, she wasn't a nida. And you're looking at me like I'm crazy. What kind of red is this? And therefore, the rabbis made a decree that anything with red in it or black, but that's something we rarely see, anything with red in it or black is going to be a nida, at least continuing the questions. That leaves, for example, a woman sees yellow discharge. Is she a nida? No, you're looking at me like I'm crazy because you're like, everyone knows that yellow discharge is not nida. I even use the word discharge. What happens if a woman sees brown discharge? Is she a nida? Trick question. I use the word discharge. Brown blood? Trick question. Brown is not a problematic color because we already made a decree on red. When people are looking at browns, they're trying to figure out if there is red in the brown. If it is just brown, it's not nida. If there is brown with red in it, it is nida. And that is why people ask questions on colors. So thank God, Baruch Hashem, in the Yoetz and Halacha program, we got trained to look at colors, right? And therefore we went through for 2 years getting like shimush, every single week looking over colors. And even to this day, I look over colors. And if I don't know, I ask, etc. But the idea being is that we are trying to determine if it's red or brown. Now, if I take brown and put it underneath a microscope, am I going to see blood cells? Yeah, brown is blood. It is blood. However, halachically, it's not a problematic color. It was only red. And therefore, we have to determine. Now, how do we determine the color of it? So I would like to train every single woman to be an expert in her own colors. I don't think people have to ask questions once they train in their own colors. And therefore, it's my job to train each and every person to become an expert in their colors. And how does that work? Number one, by asking questions. From time immemorial, women have asked rabbis questions. There's a story in the Gemara. I'm not doing the sources. I don't know why I've skipped the sources. Hold on. This is the color of the blood. We saw here, it says, Chamisha damim tmeim bisha, ha'adom ha'shachor kekern karkum kimei atzma v'kimezog, the color of red and black, turmeric, earth, and wine. Beit Shammai Adan, also the color of basar tzli, roasted meat. Okay? And our first story here is Yalta Aita Dama Lekama de Rabba Barachana. Yalta, the wife of Rav Nachman, took her blood over to the rabbis to ask a question. And I just love that because even Yalta, do any of you have a daughter named Yalta? I don't know why. Okay, but Yalta, everyone has Buria, but no one has Yalta. She was a great woman. She took her colors to ask rabbis questions. From time immemorial, women have been asking rabbis questions. There's nothing weird about it. My favorite South African story is the woman who took the underwear over to the rabbi, and the rabbi didn't know, about the underwear. She was actually wearing a thong, and the rabbi didn't know which way the thong actually went. So she took it over to one of the doctors, the gynecologist in South Africa. She's now made Aliyah, but the gynecologist in South Africa, they're standing there in the driveway, holding up the panties where the gynecologist is saying, this is the way you wear a thong. And the rabbi is like, are you sure this is not? And it was hilarious. Anyway, it didn't faze either one of them. No one thought twice about it. When we were looking over the training, the rabbi looked at tampons and lacy white underwear, and no one thought twice about it because this is just, this is what we do. And therefore, women should be super comfortable asking rabbis questions, but also women have been trained, thank God, in this area. And therefore, we can also ask women these questions that are trained in the area. And a lot of people feel more comfortable with that. In this one Gemara of Yalta, we learn two other things. Number one, this is so important, but it says over here, it's the next page. Rabbi Ra'ad Dam Balayla. Let's see if I'm right here. Rabbi Ra'ad Dam Balayla. V'timei, he said it was tamei. He saw blood during the day, at nighttime, he said it was tamei. He saw it during the day, he said it was tahor. He waited an hour, chazar v'timei. Amar oili shema ta'iti. Oh my goodness, I made a mistake. Shema ta'iti, what? You maybe made a mistake? For sure you made a mistake. Did Tanya, we learned, lo yamar chacham ilo ayalach hayav vadai tamei. Had it been wet, for sure it would be tamei. Ela amar, ein lo l'dayan ela ma she'einav ra'ov mi'ikara. We can only judge the color that we have before us. What we are saying over here is that a red that dries red is red. But when a red dries clear, it is not red. And this, I just got a question today. There was a woman who showed me a batika cloth this morning, and it was wet and it was pink, like a dark pink. And I said to her, wait an hour, it'll be dry and it'll dry clear. And that's what happens. So therefore, a lot of times it's like pinkish color, dries clear. Permission is granted here to let the color dry out and then to look at the color. And therefore, don't look at, I mean, this is if you're Misupak. The problem is with Balaniyot, you're usually getting a woman who by accident does a check in the mikvah on day 7 after she's at the mikvah, which they should never do. And then you're like, oh my God, she has to go to the mikvah that night. Or she comes to the mikvah with this check. And then sometimes you don't have the time to let it dry out. But otherwise, if you have all the time in the world, let it dry out and then look at the color. That's number 1. Number 2 that we learn from this is the way that we check. Rebbe Badak L'or Haner, Rebbe checks in the light. Rebbe Shmuel, Rebbe Yosef Badak Yom HaMunah B'nei Amudei. He checks amongst the cloudy days. At the end of the day, we look at Rabba Baravua, who checks Bechama Uvitzel Yado. The ideal way to check is in indirect sunlight, not direct, indirect sunlight. And lighting very much makes a difference. I'm using yellow lighting above my head. Can you see? Very nice, right? Some of you have white. I could try to guess who has white lighting, who has yellow lighting, but we're not going to go there. If you have white lighting, it's more clear and to the point. If you have yellow, it turns it more brownish. I love looking in the bathroom. In my bathroom, everything is all brown and everything is like a reddish tint. It looks like I have reddish hair. It's awesome. Love it, right? Gives such cool colors to it. Anyway, really, it's the colors. The lighting makes a difference. And that brings us to the question of checking colors on your phone. If someone hands you a picture on the phone, can you see the color? Well, phones are not exact, or are they? Come on, that iPhone isn't like really exact these days, but maybe not. So therefore, there's a whole debate. When I see a color on the phone, I widen my sense of questions. Meaning, sometimes people send me something that is so clear that it's yellow and not questionable. I'm like, chaval for even ask someone or walk over to someone to have a question on it, right? Or light brown that's like clear to everyone that's light brown. The best thing, though, is to get the woman to say what color she sees. Do you see something that looks like coffee? Do you see something that looks like Coca-Cola? Coca-Cola's red with it, right? And you're trying to ascertain the colors because everything starts out with colors. And that's why if a woman doesn't check or see bloods on her underwear in the mikvah, ask her what color she's seeing. And if you haven't been trained, if you're not like a Yuatz Halacha who's been trained or something, so then it's important to know who your people are in the mikvah that you're going to ask. Right? Send this woman to ask a question. Sometimes it's the Rav, sometimes it's the sort of the community, but you should know your people so you know the people to ask. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Questions
Can I
or
ask a
thoughts?
question though, real quick?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
That flow chart that you gave before of the colors and everything, does that go to the same for a hefsek as it would for the Shevanikim?
So good question. There are some people that are strict on the first 3 days of the hefsek and the first 3 days of the bedika. The hefsek and the first 3 days of the bedika. There are those that are stricter. The way that I've been trained is that we don't differentiate between that.
Okay.
Nowadays, like as much as we could be lenient, we're going to try to be lenient because people find mikvah and the waiting of the days very hard. So we don't want to add on any extra days for any other reasons. So therefore, we try to get to the women to the mikvah as soon as possible. So even when they're seeing brown, I just like to change women's language, and I like to call it brown discharge and red blood. I always say they're like, "Oh, I'm seeing brown blood." I'm like, no, brown discharge, right? Because it's a discharge. Once you like, oh, discharge, you're like, oh, it's not blood. Other questions on this? Okay. So let's just finish what would be considered a period. Okay, so what would be considered a period? We see red or black. The next thing after color is the source of the blood. This is where whoever gave me that example of the polyp, right? The source of the blood. In order to be a nida, guess where the blood has to be coming from? Uterus. It has to be uterine blood. Because if it is not from the uterus, if it is from, from the vagina and not the uterus, she's not a nida. The one exception is hymenal bleeding for a kala, right? That's the one exception. But other than that, it has to be uterine blood. If it's not from the uterus, she's not a nida. Okay. The next one, and sometimes we can't know that. So we assume it's uterine blood unless proven otherwise. Next question, I like to call it attribution. Can you attribute it to something? And this is really the polyp. And you say, I have a polyp and it's bleeding. And you know what the answer is? Yes. If you know what you have a polyp that's bleeding, you can attribute it to a polyp that's bleeding, right? Because you know that your polyp is bleeding. If you don't know your polyp is bleeding, so then you can't attribute it to that. If you know that you just put in an IUD, so then you could say the blood is coming from the IUD and not from me. So if there is no way to attribute it, we continue our questions. If there is a way, so then she's not a nida. The last question is how much blood is she bleeding? The amount. In order to be a nida based on her period, it has to be a flow. Spotting technically should not make a woman a nida. Okay, 1 second. Right, I'll make this bigger so you can see in 1 second. But if it is a flow, and we'll talk about Hargasha in a second, if it's a flow, she is a nida. But if it is not a flow, if it is just spotting, technically, she should not be a nida. So basically, what we spoke about over here, halachically, period is a flow. Let's get that word flow up here. Flow of red or black uterine blood with no other reason why she's seeing it. That's really the only way a woman should become a nida. Let's make this a nice pink there, right? That's the only way that she should become a nida is based on a flow of red or black uterine blood. So basically what we went through today is really just the Deoraita laws. We saw that Nida Deoraita, according to the Torah, is a total of 7 days. But we took upon ourselves an extra 7 days, and we follow like Zaval. It's very hard to play around with the extra 7 days, but we can play around with the 4 or 5 days in necessary situations. And we divided between the Sfaradim and the Ashkenazim, where we saw the Sfaradim wait 4 days, but possibly even less than that, right? Based on when she had sex, or if she didn't have sex, or if she cleaned herself out. But the Ashkenazim are always waiting their 5 days. We spoke about the color of the blood. That has to be red or black. We spoke about checking with different types of lighting, yellow lighting, white lighting, indirect sunlight, taking pictures on cameras, distorting the lighting, right? And then we spoke about that in order to be considered a period, it has to be a flow of red or black uterine blood. That is a period. And that's the only way a woman should become a nida. However, we're going to make a decree on spotting. So we're going to have to learn about what spotting is. Any thoughts or questions up until this point in our last minute here? I sometimes speak fast, sometimes speak slow, depends on the time. If I speak too fast for you, just ask your questions. It's okay. Okay, but also you can reach me afterwards if you have any questions. We're going to come back. I forget which weeks I'm teaching. It's like written down, but maybe I'm next week for both times. But we're going to do a lot of the halacha to get the halacha, straight and organized. Okay, until then, we shall meet again next week, hoping for happier, safer times. Nice meeting you all. And Bezrat Hashem, should be good.
Thank you.
I thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Ladies.
See you all next week.
Thank you. Good night.